Hey everybody, it's episode 366 of PodQuest.
Hey!
It's Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. I am Chris. With me is Droo.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Doing alright.
Usually Droo chimes in first.
Cool.
I'm alright. I'm fine.
Oh, he dropped. That's why he is not.
I heard, I think, it's super windy around here. I hope his internet didn't go out or something.
Oh, he's back.
It should be fine now. I should have booted up my PC earlier. It likes to drop the internet like 10 minutes after I boot it up for like a...
That's weird.
That's very weird. That sounds like a problem.
I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't know. I've tried running the troubleshooter, but I don't know.
Oh, the Windows troubleshooter is absolute garbage.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is it wired or wireless?
Wired.
Go into your device manager. Not now, obviously. Double check, like, in Device Manager, try and update the driver for your network card. If that says it found nothing, go to, like, Dell's website, type in your service tag number, and download the latest network driver and install that. It'll tell you if it's the newest one or not. Odds are it's not, though.
Probably.
But yeah, that shouldn't be happening at all.
Yeah, no.
But how are you? Because you dropped as I asked that.
Oh, I'm doing good.
And Rich, you didn't actually get the answer because we realized Droo got dropped.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing. I'm just doing.
You're alive.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
For now, at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing else to ramble about this week. So let's just Rich, what's on the docket?
We're not gonna ramble. We're gonna have a stacked show. So rambling is probably not a good idea right now. Something about comic stuff for you, Cobb? Substack comic? I don't really know. I haven't looked at this until just now. I had a busy day. There was a Pokemon Direct that I did get to watch. And then, Droo, and you got to play, the closed beta for Diablo II Resurrected, as well as the beta for Back 4 Blood. Cobb, you watched Titans Season 2 and 3. No spoilers, please. I haven't gotten around to it.
Look, man, Season 2's been out for 2 years.
I know, it's my fault for Season 2 at least. Season 3, just was released, I believe.
Only the first 3 episodes are out.
Then, Sk8 The Infinity is an anime that Cobb thinks I will enjoy.
I think will.
And then, me and Cobb, as well as Droo, sat down for 4 hours each and watched AEW All Out 2019 wrestling.
To be fair, it was only like 2.5 hours for me because I watched it on 1.5 times.
Lucky motherfucker.
Well, we'll talk about that more later. But I will say, watching them go slightly faster to do some of the things they do, super amusing.
Yeah.
So this Substack thing. Have either of you I doubt it, but have either of you heard of this at all?
Not before I read this 30 seconds.
Right. So it's a platform that a lot of people have been using for newsletters for a while now. A lot of comic creators in general have been using it for newsletters. I don't know if they just started doing this or what, but you can now do paid subscriptions on it. And so a bunch of pretty prominent comic creators are setting up their own sort of imprints on the platform. And it's for the most part it's $7 a month, $70 a year, or they all have a higher option of somewhere between $200 and $300 that gets a whole bunch of other stuff. But they're basically using this to do creator-owned books. And rather than having to and I just actually found this out listening to a live stream that some of these guys did. If you're going to do a creator-owned book and get it published at Image Comics, for instance, you have to have 3 issues completely done before they'll even solicit it. And solicitations for comics are basically the things that go out to the comic shops so that they can order books. Yeah, so that's generally 3 to 4 months prior to the book shipping. So you're talking about having 3 issues completely done 6 months before, or 4 months before a book is going to ship. Mm-hmm. Which if that's as an artist, that's probably the only thing you're doing, unless you're also squeezing in some work for hire covers or something like that. So that's a lot of time to be sitting around hoping your book does well enough that you're going to actually make money off of it.
Yeah.
With this Substack thing, you're actually getting the chance to, and the dog's barking at something. You're getting the chance to kind of set up a Patreon sort of thing, but to give people digital copies of comics and then take them to comic book shops for physical sales later.
Huh.
Which is like, it's kind of cool. And a lot of these platforms, they're like, so one of them is Donnie Cates and Ryan Stegman, who just got off of a really good Venom run.
Okay.
They just launched one like together, and they have a creator-owned book that is going to physically release over at Image, but that they are going to be also releasing digitally through their Substack. And they're also working with a bunch of other creators to do other books that they're both working on in like different capacities. And as part of the subscription, you're not just going to get the digital copies of the books. They're going to do like live streams of like pages actually being drawn, or behind the scenes stuff of them actually working out the plot of the book to an extent, like how they want like a page to flow without like spoiling anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really interesting idea that sort of takes this stuff away from like the big publishing houses that kind of make it impossible to do this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like Substack is giving certain creators money to come to their platform. So I saw James Tynion, who he is currently writing Batman. He's done a bunch of creator-owned stuff as well as a ton of stuff for DC. He basically got offered 2 contracts, one from DC to just keep doing Batman for another exclusive amount of time, or to go work at Substack, and they would give him like funding up front to make books, which means like he is getting money up front to like sustain himself, as well as to hire like the artists and everything that would have to do the other half of the book, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I saw at least one of these creators mention that Substack gave him like the funding up front, so he's actually donating all of the subscription money for the first year to charity.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was Chip Zdarsky, who does he's doing Daredevil right now. He did Sex Criminals. Like,
okay.
He's very good at both writing and drawing comics.
Okay.
But yeah, like he's just like, they gave me a bunch of money. Like, I don't need the subscription fees right now, because he's also still doing like his work for hire stuff for like Marvel and things. So he's like, so I'm just going to donate all this subscription stuff to charity for this year. Like, whatever comes in, my portion of it is going to go to charity. So I assume Substack is just like Patreon or Kickstarter is taking some amount of money to themselves. Because like, why else would they be pushing this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting to see this happening, and there's at least a dozen pretty prominent creators that have already like announced their own whatever, like imprint or whatever they're calling it over here. Some people that are actually stepping away from one of the big 2 entirely. Jonathan Hickman, who is sort of the mastermind behind the X-Men reboot from 2 years ago.
Okay.
He has been basically the head of the X-Men line for the last 2 years. Like,
yeah,
he was writing the core X-Men book, but then he was also sort of like helping to keep all of the other X-Men books kind of in line with like the overall vision. He is leaving that to go do a thing on Substack. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who have been doing like DC work for the last decade, are both stepping away from DC to go do a Substack. So, and like Ryan Stegman has been on Marvel for a decade, or more than a decade. Like, he has done exclusive work for Marvel for the last 10 to 15 years. He is no longer doing Marvel work because he is doing his Substack thing now, and he can only draw 1 book a month. So his choice is do his creator-owned thing that's totally his, or keep working for Marvel.
Yeah, it definitely sounds... That makes it sound a little bit of a commentary on the industry as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. And like, a lot of these guys will tell you like they have never had an issue with like Marvel or DC, but they're frankly like, they're kind of like the top names in the industry right now. Like, like when they get put on the big books, because they are the names that even if people aren't buying those books, they will sell books. And like, there's a lot of people that like aren't in that position where like they just have to kind of deal with whatever like bullshit Marvel or DC wants to throw at them and hope that it pays off in the long run.
Yeah.
But like, when you have an established name and you can go out there and be like, hey, I'm doing my own thing now. Like, I mean, look at like Giant Bomb. Like the 3 guys left Giant Bomb a month later, launched their own thing, and within like 3 or 4 days had over 12,000
patrons.
Yeah, thank you. I could not think of I was going to say subscribers. I'm like, it's not subscribers. What's the word I'm looking for here? Like, it's like that sort of thing. Like, they already have a following, so people are going to follow them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's more, like, I guess, an open source access for small comic creators. It's easier for them to get their stuff out besides just hoping they go viral on Instagram at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And like traditional publishing is very hard. Like it's expensive to publish a book. The companies that do creator owned stuff, generally from what I've heard, have pretty strict stipulations on like what books they'll take, like what you have to do to get the book done, all that sort of stuff. And like I was saying, Image, apparently you have to have 3 books completely done before they'll even solicit it. So if that's the case and you don't have the money to bankroll it up front, you're just going to be hoping you get a paycheck from this in 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, and it's less. I guess in a way it's less stressful than like a Kickstarter too, because it's long term. Like a ton of people kickstart comics, and it's usually graphic novels, like somewhere between like 80 and 120 pages. Some people do kickstart just like single issues or like slightly bigger issues, like 30 to 40 pages. But that's a 30-month to make X amount of dollars that you think it will cost to pay your bills while you work on your part of it, plus colorists or artists or lettering or editing, plus all the physical printing and shipping and everything costs. And it's like, if you don't make your $15,000-$20,000 in those 30 days, like, it failed. Like, you're not making that book that month. Whereas with this, it's like, if you get a steady trickle of subscribers, even if it's not enough to like sustain you like month to month, if you can, especially if you are a writer and an artist, you can kind of work on the book on your own time, release pages, do other like behind the scenes stuff to keep people subscribed, and do like work for hire stuff to pay the bills basically, until you build up that following or have enough stuff banked that you can then release it as a full comic. Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a good move for known artists and writers to go to this right away, but for like the newbies, it's essentially the Twitch and YouTube of comic book writing. It's like, all right, you might be able to get enough people to enjoy your stuff to where it'll pay for itself, but it might not pay for you to live, and it might be forever before you actually get to that point.
Exactly. And I know one of the more interesting ones I saw was Scott Snyder, aside from doing like some creator-owned books, which he had actually just before this announced a deal with Amazon to do a bunch of exclusive Comixology stuff too. Mm-hmm. But he is using his as like a classroom, because he used to teach college courses in writing, and I guess like even prior to COVID, like, had stopped doing that because he was doing comics so much, that his subscription platform is actually going to be like writing classes. He's going to do like Zoom classes and like long form like blog posts and stuff like that about writing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and it seems like it's going to be focused on comic book writing for people that want to get into that. But a lot of the stuff that I've seen, because I'm subscribed to like the free version of most of these things, because it's all creators that I follow, and like, why not? I've only subscribed to a few of them for like the pay stuff, like the ones that like I'm actually like whose books I buy all the time. But from what I've been seeing on like his free stuff, it's going to be very like geared towards just writing in general. Like, if you want to learn how to write better, like, he is going to be kind of doing the same stuff he was teaching in his college courses. Mm-hmm. And like a bunch of the people that he taught in his writing courses are like fairly well-known writers in comics now.
Yeah.
So like the dude definitely knows what he's doing. But yeah, it's a weird but interesting thing, and I'm curious to see if it has any bigger changes in comics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for the Substack stuff. What did you guys think of the Pokemon Direct?
It was fine. I just really didn't care about the mobile shit.
Same.
Like, I didn't
all the way over it.
Yeah. Part of the mobile stuff made me come up with a potential discussion topic we can have in the future.
Well, add it to the document.
I already did, and I'm going to tell you what it is now.
Well, don't ruin it.
No, I'm going to tell you what it is now, because you're just going to laugh. Because all it says is mascots who shouldn't be mascots, and it just says Pikachu. That's it. That's all the description for this question.
Pikachu's a wonderful mascot.
Fuck Pikachu, man. Pikachu is not the best Pokemon. There's a better Pokemon in Pikachu, and that's fucking Raichu, that no one uses because, oh my god, Pikachu. So,
No, Raichu's like the
Pikachu.
worst.
Raichu's awesome. He's awesome.
Nobody likes Raichu.
Why?
Alolan Raichu is okay.
Raichu is great, but no one uses him because you need to use a Lightning Stone, because Ash only ever used a Pikachu, and Pikachu was level 99 fighting against level 1s because Ash is a fucking cheater.
Look, Pikachu's the only thing that he's kept. He's gotten rid of every other powerful Pokemon he has ever owned.
Yeah, because he's a shitty trainer.
Like, he has owned legendary Pokemon and have given them up.
Yeah, because he's a shitty trainer. But we can get on that discussion some other time, or we've actually had it in the past as well. But yeah, the mobile games were the mobile games. They are what they are. And this, again, Pokemon, what is it? The Unite. Like, if enough people, pre-download or whatever, like, pre-subscribe to the mobile game, you can get a special skinned Pikachu or two. Like, who gives a fuck about Pikachu? I hate it.
Everybody but you.
Honestly, I don't think that's true.
No, Pikachu is everywhere in Japan. People love Pikachu.
I hate it. I hate how big Pikachu is.
Also, just to correct something you said before, the Lightning Stone to evolve Pikachu predates the anime. Like, that has always been how the games worked, and that's why Raichu sucks. The only Pokemon that you evolve with a stone that doesn't suck are the Eevees, because they still learn moves. Every other Pokemon you evolve with a fucking Thunderstone, and it just cripples them.
Well, I mean, that's why you don't evolve them until they get the move that you want.
And at that point, why bother evolving them? Just leave them the way they are.
Because
their stats go up.
They're more powerful. Their stats go up.
Barely.
I mean, you know what? That barely could be a big difference.
And actually, I don't know how much the stats go up now, but like back in Gen 1, they really didn't go up all that much.
They probably go up the same amount as if you evolve a Charmander into a Charmeleon or a Charmeleon into a Charizard. Like, the stats probably barely go up, but they still go up.
I don't know. Raichu is still not a good Pokemon. There are plenty of better Pokemon than Raichu.
Oh, and there's plenty of better Pokemon than fucking Pikachu.
Only like 3.
No. There's so many better Pokemon.
I don't know, man. I will battle you with a Pikachu and I will kick your ass.
You know what? I'll battle you with a fucking Magikarp and I'll kick your ass.
That's that's type disadvantage. There's no way that will happen.
I mean, it could still happen. If I know my EV trainings and everything, I could do it.
Well, it depends on which game, because, like, some you...
Well, yeah, I mean, in early gens, Magikarp didn't even have Tackle. Now he has Tackle, so...
I mean, there was that guy that beat Leon with Magikarp in Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I watched a video of someone winning, I think it's Fire Red and Leaf Green, or it might have been Let's Go Eevee or Pikachu, with a fucking Metapod.
Yeah, I mean, so if you catch a Caterpie and then evolve it, it keeps Tackle. So, like, you could theoretically...
Nope, he caught a Metapod and beat the game. Because when you use all their moves, they use Struggle, which deals damage.
Oh, so he just basically, like, used up all of the PP.
Oh,
and
I think he defeated the entire Elite Four with just a Metapod. I think what he did was he hardened through the entire fight, each of the fights, and then just struggled against all of their Pokemon.
Yeah, and honestly, if you got that thing up to level 99, it would be 30 levels higher. So a Tackle is going to do some damage, and the Harden will have its defense up high enough that they're not going to do as much damage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean that would be reasonable.
Yeah, I'll have to find the video and share it with you guys sometime.
But other than the lackluster mobile games, what did you guys think of the Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl stuff?
I like
that too. Sorry, Richie, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
No, that I really just mostly skipped over it. I had read what they announced about it in there, so it was like not much really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a fond or big memory of playing Diamond and Pearl, so I'm interested in it. I like the art style. I like how the game looks. I like how, like, it goes from that little chibi version into, like, less chibi when you get into battles, kind of, like, change from, like, world to battle art style. It has probably some interesting aspects to it. I don't know. I can't remember what the difference is between what wasn't in the original Diamond and Pearl and what would be in this. Besides, oh yeah, you can dress up your character now, which whatever.
I think that may have been a thing you could do before too.
No, they made a big deal saying that you can
Yeah.
actually dress up your character.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I kinda-
think that was a thing till
That was
X
in
and Y, maybe.
And they just did it in Sword and Shield too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think, and this is dumb, but I really like it. You can add stickers to the Pokeballs of the Pokemon that you're using, so when you throw it out, there's a different kind of flash than just them popping out of the Pokeball, which is like, it's really dumb, but I'm just like, that's really cool. That's kind of silly.
yeah.
So I have the opposite reaction to the style of the game. I think that like chibi style it looks bad because it's not even charming the way the Link's Awakening remake was. It just looks like the company that did the remaster was just too lazy to make full size characters for the whole game.
I mean, maybe I don't have I don't complain. I don't have that complaint on that. I think it looks fine for like it looks good to me. It looks enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean like you, I don't really have any necessary nostalgia for that generation.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I feel like that generation was the one that started adding too many legendaries.
Yeah.
Because that was the one where you had the 3 Lake Spirits, the 2 version exclusives, Cresselia, Shaimon, Darkrai, what was the fucking Giratina, plus all the other ones from the previous generations. Like, it was just getting out of hand. Because I think, I'm trying to remember. So, there's 4 of them, or 1, 2, 3, 5 of them in Gen 1. I think Gen 2 also had 5 also. So I think Gen 2 had the 3 dogs and then the 2 birds. Oh, and Celebi, so 6.
Yeah.
And then 3 was Generation 3 was right around there too, because it had the 2 version exclusives plus the green dragon, Rayquaza.
Yeah.
And the 3 rocks. But like by 4, it's like, yeah, like every other Pokemon is a legendary. Oh, Arceus showed up in 4 also.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just like they went overboard with legendaries, and I can't even remember the name of the region now, even though they said it like 4 times in this direct. Sinnoh?
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Sinnoh?
Yeah, I believe it's Sinnoh, yeah.
Yeah, like that was super unmemorable in my opinion also.
Yeah, I don't believe I ever got far in those games. If like, yeah, I can't even remember how far I got. Like, I know there are some Pokemon games that I just flat out never played. Like core, not just like the remake versions, like the core versions that I just flat out never played. And I've been thinking I kind of want to go back and try them all out again. And like, I'm interested in the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. I'm not going to say it's like anything groundbreaking and amazing, but it seems to have some, like, besides just being Pokemon and like, honestly, in my opinion, probably a better Pokemon than Sword and Shield. I haven't even played it yet, and I'm saying that. It seems that it's like, it's going to be like enjoyable to play, whether you like the art style or not.
See, I mean, I think it just looks like a lazy remake when every other game, every other time they've remade the games, they've remade them up to the current generation standard. Because they even did that with Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. Like, it looked and for the most part functioned like Sword and Shield ended up playing. Other than the catch stuff where it was just like the Pokemon Go catching.
Yeah.
But like everything else was similar to Sword and Shield with like your characters were like regular sized, the buildings were regular sized. It wasn't all that weird like half-ass chibi art that just I think the art style outside of battle just looks lazy. Like it's like they wanted to do the remake, but they didn't want to actually put the work in to make it look like the current generation, like they've done for every other remake.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't need that though. Like, that's not something that like I don't know. I can't.
Totally fair, but Cobb does totally have a valid argument on like why did they shortcut this?
And because people have wanted this one for a while, like it has been one people have wanted, and like DS games are still easy enough to play. Like, not everyone has gotten rid of their 3DS, and you can still buy 3DSs for like reasonable prices. So like, there's not like I don't have a reason to buy this one. Like all of the other remakes I've gotten because they've actually been upgraded versions of the original. This one doesn't look all that much like, I mean, it looks different because the original one came out in 2006, but like they didn't really change how it works or anything like that. yeah, great, I can add stickers and clothes. Like, I'm not going to do that anyway.
It's a real weird decision they made to have the out-of-universe characters be all chibi, but then or out-of-battle characters be all chibi, but then in battle, they look kind of like the modern one, like Sword and Shield.
Yeah, that's why I said
Why?
So Game Freak didn't make this. I forget who did it, but it's not Game Freak because Game Freak's working on Legends. I don't know if Game Freak did Let's Go or not. But I know I'm pretty sure they have done all of the other ones, which I feel is like why those games have always fallen in line with whatever the current generation has been, because they've almost been released as like a second interstitial. Because, you know, I mean, you guys know, like, the Pokemon games historically would have, like, your red, blue, yellow, and then something else. Or, I'm sorry, red, blue, and yellow would be, like, the trio of games.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Generation 3, it was, well, let's do Emerald, and then let's also do Fire Red and Leaf Green. And Fire Red and Leaf Green looked like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. And then they did the same thing with the DS generation with the Gold and Silver remakes. They looked like the DS generation. But this one is just like, oh yeah, this one just, some of the game looks like current stuff, and some of the game looks like it should have been released on 3DS.
From what I could find, the company who's developing this has really only done Pokemon Home and this game.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's
actually
right.
I vaguely remember that now that you say that.
Yeah.
Though I guess actually, and I just thought about this, like it would have been. I wonder how it would look to have like the modern character art in the isometric world moving around.
I mean, they did it in Let's Go.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, Let's Go didn't. So it would be just like in Sword and Shield when you're not in the wild area. Because anytime you weren't in the wild area, like it was, if I might be misremembering, but you didn't have free camera roam. Like it was a fixed isometric kind of angle to it, right? I'm not misremembering that, am I?
I fucking.
You definitely didn't have camera control when you weren't in like a wild area.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Yeah.
It was all behind the it was all stationary camera that followed.
They definitely could have made this game look like those games. They just didn't. And maybe it was just a matter of Game Freak wasn't willing to give the code up to this company that had not really proven it was able to do anything. Because, like, Pokemon Home's not a game.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it just could have flat out been a design choice to make it might have been easier to animate the chibi style because, like, you don't see their legs and shit. It's easier to move them and whatnot. It's easier to do that stuff with the chibi style than to have the whole game look like the bigger style. Like, maybe it might have been a corner cutting method because it was cheaper and easier to do it that way.
I wonder if it actually would be any easier to do it that way. That's why I said, like, I wonder if Game Freak just didn't want to give over, like, the assets and everything and the engine they used for Sword and Shield and Let's Go to this other company.
I feel like that's not a choice that would have been left up to them.
Well, when I say Game Freak, I also mean Nintendo.
Yeah, but, like, what's Nintendo's incentive, you know?
I mean, that's fair, but it's the only thing I can think of, like, other than Richie said, it just being, like, they were trying to just cut costs by not animating everything. And you cannot animate body parts by just making those body parts not actually visible, basically. What did you guys think of the Arceus, Pokemon Legends Arceus?
I continue to be intrigued by that game, but I don't feel like they really... I guess they gave us how, like, the actual game or story is going to be told.
Which I think is actually really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, we already had a Pokemon game essentially without gyms with Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon.
I was going to say, Sun and Moon didn't really have them either, right?
Yeah. So, like, but, like, this is even, like, there's going to be no trainer battles from what I've seen. Everything's just going to be out in the wild. It looks like things are going to be really high level and strong. Like, even, like, stuff that you would expect to be low level is going to be pretty damn strong. Maybe it'll just power up with you or something. I don't know.
I have a feeling that's going to be this.
The battle system looks neat. It's a nice different change to what we're used to, with it being like a back and forth. Like, it makes speed matter now, because your speed could be fast enough that you could have 2 turns in a row sometimes, which to me is like a good thing. It's what speed should do. Yeah, and
like a lot of like RPGs after, you know, numerous iterations kind of went in that route. Like Final Fantasy X was like that.
Yeah, I was going to say and I forget if I said it in the messages or not, but the turn order thing reminded me of Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped in my head too, and also the Shin Megami Tensei I can't remember the fucking name. It was the one where it was a crossover with Fire Emblem. It was on the Wii U, and then they released on the Switch.
I can't remember. Is that one where they're like
idols and stuff like that? I never played that one. But fun.
Yeah.
It's actually very good, but I can't remember the name of it. Something Sessions. It's going to drive me.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
it.
That one had a similar thing where when you went into battle, depending on the speed of your characters, your order would be different every time because your enemies might actually get multiple attacks, or maybe all of the enemies are faster, so they all attack first, and then your team can go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the idea of the battle styles where they can be attacking hard or attacking fast, and that also alters how their speed and their power and everything. The battle system itself looks very interesting. I hope it's good, and I hope they take this for further generations and don't just keep it with Legends Arceus.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how some of that real time stuff where the Pokemon are attacking the trainer is going to work, because they showed in some of the clips of you having to dodge out of the way of lightning attacks and stuff like that prior to throwing a Pokeball. Is that only before you actually initiate the battle? Can that happen during the battle where you also are moving your character around?
It made it seem like once you got into a battle, it was a fixed thing.
Yeah,
but
it's it's gonna be you could have 3 Pokemon going after your one, but it's gonna be once you throw that Pokeball, the Pokemon are focusing on your Pokemon and not on you until your Pokemon goes down again.
Did it show multiple?
It didn't show multiple
battles?
In a battle, but there are instances where there's going to be multiple Pokemon around you.
For sure.
Whether that means that you're gonna fight one Pokemon at a time, but 3 Pokemon in a fight, or 3 Pokemon at once, I don't know. But there's definitely going to be some form of multiple enemies. There has to be. Otherwise, the game's going to be too easy because you're going 6 Pokemon against 1 for the entire game, since there's no trainer battles or things like that.
Do we know you're getting to carry 6 like normal?
I think I saw that there was that they had 6 Pokemon or 6 Pokeballs in their I think. I can't remember for sure, but even if it's only 2 Pokemon, it's still 2-on-1. The game's still going to unless it's just 1-on-1 the entire time, which to me, from what they were saying with the story, it seems like you're probably going to be swapping your party out quite frequently, because they're going to be asking you to see different Pokemon, see different moves and things like that. And so the best way to do it is to constantly swap out your party. Who knows?
Which does make sense.
Yeah, who knows? Because you are doing research. It's early times. You're researching these Pokemon that you may have never seen before. I did also that there are some variants. For instance, Growlithe is Fire Rock, and he
looks kind of cool too.
He looks different.
Yeah.
Stantler gets an evolution. And so does one other one, the stupid fish. I can't remember what its name is.
Oh, Basculin, I think. The one that Drew and I were talking about, because it's fucking dark as shit. It's a Baskin, or whatever the base form is, possessed by the dead souls of its other schoolmates that have died on its trek upriver.
And that is your main form of water transportation. So you're riding on the souls of dead fucking fish.
Which I did think some of that stuff looked neat, when you're flying with whatever that, I can't think of the flying Pokemon's name, but you were basically in a little hang glider thing underneath of it, and it was just holding you by its claws.
Yeah, and we have to talk about the Pokeball. It's like a steam-powered Pokeball, a steampunk Pokeball.
Oh, and it shoots a little firework out when it catches something. It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
I wish Pokeballs were still steam-powered in these games.
Maybe they'll start doing that. Maybe they'll start doing something like that in future games. But yeah, this game is definitely interesting to me. I hope it's good. I have hopes that it's going to be good. I can't say for sure whether or not I'm going to get it at launch. I can't remember if they even said when launch is.
January,
so we've got time. But it is a very intriguing game, and it looks it looks nice. Like, art-wise, it looks nice. The design for some of the variant Pokemon look pretty cool. I'm also just kind of annoyed that it's got the same 3 starters as the original from that air region.
No, it doesn't.
I thought it did.
It's got 3 different ones. It's
Yeah,
Cyndaquil,
Rowlet.
Rowlet from Sun and Moon, right?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And Oshawott from 4 or 5.
Okay. I'm
it's 3 different gens of starters.
There was actually when this game was announced like last year, I think it was GameSpot had an article up about the possible origin of why those 3 Pokemon were picked.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to do with like their Japanese names kind of translating to specific things like that were more feudal Japan related.
Well, yeah, and it's Oshawott evolves into like a samurai based
right.
Owlet evolves into like it's like a samurai archer type thing. It's supposed to be an archer, I know that much. I don't remember what it's called.
It was like a Robin Hood-esque character, which is from a similar time period.
Yeah. And Cyndaquil, which is Japanese, Quilava is, I believe that's Quilava is the third.
Typhlosion?
Typhlosion, yeah. Quilava's the second version. Typhlosion's the third. I can't remember what he's based off of, but yeah, his Japanese name is something based on like the feudal lands or feudal past.
Yeah, and there was no confirmation from Nintendo or Game Freak about that, but it did line up to why those 3 Pokemon would have been chosen. Like, they were all existing starters with which worked, and then, like, you know, finding ways to tie them back into that time period.
Yeah.
Which is cool to see that, like, there are Pokemon, because it's the Sinnoh region before it became the Sinnoh region.
Yeah.
It's Gen 4, and it's interesting to see, like, oh yeah, here are these Pokemon that, like, in the present day are only seen in totally different regions. Like, Rowlet was the Alolan version, wasn't it? Like, that was it was Rowlet, Fire Kitty, and I forget what the last one was.
Was it Greninja?
No.
Water Frog?
Oh, actually, was it Froakie? No, I don't think Froakie. No, Froakie was black and white or X and Y. I'm Googling it real quick because I just can't remember. I remember. Oh, it was the seal, Poplio.
Okay.
Oh, I almost said Poplio, but
I thought Poplio was older too.
Same. Yeah. I was like, no.
Yeah, it was Litten, the Fire Kitten, and then Rowlet and Poplio were the 3 starters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am definitely interested. Like, I will probably get Legends Arceus at launch, as opposed to like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl will probably be the first mainline Pokemon game or remake that I don't buy, just because like I have Diamond and Pearl. Like, I have those DS games, and it doesn't really look any better than the DS games to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But Arceus looks cool as hell.
Yeah.
It does.
At least we can all agree on that.
No, it doesn't.
You're the worst.
I know.
Drew, how's Diablo II Resurrected?
Well, speaking of games that look cool as hell, they did a real fucking good job, the art in that remake. Like,
is that one of the ones that you can? I think Eric might have been saying this, that you can swap it back and forth.
Yep, you can hit the G button on your keyboard, and it swaps back and forth between the current art and the old art. Because literally, they just have the game running on the old engine.
Yeah, and it's just images on top of the old assets.
Yeah. I mean, they added a shit ton more frames of animation. Like, that's the craziest thing, is going back to the old art and seeing how few frames of animation are in shit, especially compared to what they've done now. Like, just the movement looks weird in the old art now. Like, I had been recently playing Diablo 2 every now and again, just for shits and giggles, because why not? I had nothing else I really wanted to play. So I was like, let's load up Diablo 2 for a little bit. And, like, it never seemed weird to me until now. Now, looking at that old art, it's like, oh, wow, it's missing so much. Because it was a 30-frame game.
Yeah.
So it has half the frames of animation. And it just seems so weird. But then, like, nice touches they put on shit, like, when you're the sorceress and casting fire spells, like, a big arc of fire comes around her, and real fast on the ground it leaves a circle of cindered ground from all the fire energy just pulling up through you. And like the way the fire spells and lightning spells will light up an area when they hit something is real nice, and like it is pretty phenomenal what they've done.
So did you? I'm just doing bad with words right now. I believe I saw it's Acts 1 and 2. Did you get through both acts?
Yep, I beat both acts with the sorceress. I have a sorceress up to like level 25 or 6. I had a paladin up to like 8 and druid up to
Nice.
It had everything but the assassin and necromancer were available to play, and I think they're keeping the same for the open beta this upcoming weekend, but I'm not sure. I don't know if they've said either way. But I just I had started as an ice sorceress, but then decided to do something dumb because why not? I decided to make the sorceress enchant and firewall based. So those were like the only two spells I had that were beyond level 1, other than warmth to regain mana faster. But also warmth is a synergy for both firewall and enchant, so it was working out pretty well. Because firewall is just fucking broke, at least early in that game. Like it just does so much damage.
Mm-hmm.
Like things just die immediately, and then since it was all multiplayer, like I can just cast enchant on everyone and give them a whole bunch of added fire damage. So
is it pretty faithful to the original?
yeah, I mean, it, like I said, it is literally running on the base game. They have not really changed anything about the game, although I'm pretty sure they've added new unique items, because I found 4 uniques while playing, I picked up 3, Eric picked up 1. I was playing with Eric for a little while last Saturday, and we found a gold dagger, which that's from base Diablo 2. Like, a gold dagger dropped. I'm like, Eric, take that. You're not really using your actual melee weapon, because he was playing a smite paladin, so he was just using his shield for attacks.
Yeah.
So he could afford to take the dagger that has 1 to 4 damage or whatever, but has 100% increased magic fine. So I was like, take it. I don't need it. But then I found a set of boots, a helmet, and a shield, and a sword, a short sword, that definitely were not the unique short sword, buckler, boots, and cap from the fucking original game. And I'm like, did I miss that they announced that there was new unique items in this? Because apparently I did.
Maybe they didn't announce it. Maybe they just
might not have,
to
honestly.
put them in. Like, and if they did, good on them. Because I mean, for me personally,
but
I'm not interested in this game. But like, it's nice to see a company like not saying everything they're doing and just throwing things in there that might be new. Like, that wouldn't push me to go back and play it, but like, hey, add new things to this game that you're just pretty much copying and pasting the art over top of other things.
Yeah, like, I mean, I know basically every single unique item when it drops. I'm like, okay, I know what that's going to be. But if there is actually new uniques, that's a little bit of a game changer. It makes it a little more interesting for me. It's like, oh, well, I don't know exactly what that is. At least not the first time. But also, if there's multiple of a certain item, like, then I'll never know.
That does actually make it a different game.
Yeah. But, I mean, beyond that, like, I watched the intro video. I skipped the act cutscene, because, like, I'll just watch that when playing the actual game. But they super overhauled all the cutscenes.
I saw some screen caps of things from cutscenes from the original and from now, and I'm like, wow, that actually looked really good in 2000. But like, holy shit, does it look real now? Like those like early 2000 cutscenes in Diablo 2, like they look good for the like the pre-rendered stuff.
Yeah,
but like it's incredible like what they look like now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I guess the other big change is they've added shared stashes like Diablo 3 had.
Okay.
So you don't have to make mule characters to move shit around from character to character anymore.
Oh, that was always the worst.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to have this one random character that never gets played so I can just send things back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And WoW was the same way. You kind of, like at a certain point, you'd run out of storage on a character, so then you'd make a dummy character and you would just send stuff to them in the mail. And then send it back when you need.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to play again this weekend for the open beta?
Probably. We'll see how much time I have, Because if it only runs through, well, I don't think I'm doing like directly have time.
Because I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday again.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think they didn't have Act 3 because either A, everyone fucking hates Act 3, or B, they didn't want people grinding Mephisto in order to get all the loot?
I'd say probably more B, because it does still use the same old BattleNet lobby system, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And, like, you go in, they did add just a play button, and it'll automatically make you a game that has a password set, and it'll be like game, and then like a 10 number string of after it, and then the passwords. So you could then invite someone in. They would have to just type all that in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
But it also still had the go into a lobby, hit the button to see the list of open games, and there were fucking people doing Tristram runs, there were people doing Tomb runs, like, people were grinding the fuck out of that game.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I wound up doing Tomb runs after I killed fucking Duriel with the sorceress.
Yeah.
It's like, let's level up. Let's go do Tomb Run. Bunch of people. Fuck that Act 2 boss. He sucks so much shit.
Yeah, the Act 2 boss does suck. Played that. Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
Because he has Holy Freeze, and, like, literally he killed my sorceress in 2 hits if I ever got hit.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, so, and especially being, at that point, I was doing the Firewall enchant thing, so it would be enchant myself and my merc, go in, cast Firewall under him, he murders the fuck out of my merc in, like, 3 hits, and then start running in circles, casting Firewall under him as much as I can, but you have a limited area, so eventually you might get stuck in a corner, and then you're Holy Free, and you're fucked.
Yeah.
Stamina still sucks. Fuck the stamina. That's the one thing they should have taken out of that game, but was probably impossible to take out.
They kept it in just for you.
It's so dumb. It's so annoying. Because those are the only 2 acts where it matters. By the time you get to Act 3, you've probably increased your vitality enough that you just have enough stamina that by the time you run into more things to kill, you're only like halfway down your stamina bar and it'll fill by the time you've killed the things. Mm-hmm. So it's like just super annoying for the part of the game where you fucking want to just get through shit because you're so low level and just want to kill things. But now you're running, like you can't run anymore, so you can't get to much to kill.
Yeah.
Which tracks.
But yeah.
Other than Diablo, what did you think about Back 4 Blood?
I had 2 wildly different experiences playing that game over the weekend. On Friday, I just played with randoms, and it sucked shit.
that sounds about right.
It just was not fun playing with randoms or with bots. Like, it was bad. Like, I was ready to just uninstall it and write it off and be like, yeah, I'll never play this game again.
And you probably won't, even if it was like a free game, because what are the odds that like you're going to have 4 people that are like available to play all at the same time, like consistently?
Yeah, well, at least it's not a thing that I feel like it needs to be I consistently play with, or like consistently play. It's not like Overwatch or Apex where if you stop playing for a while, you've now fallen behind like the skill curve because it's PvE. So
that's true, and that game didn't have a whole lot of skill required. Like,
no,
I don't know, because you played on PC, I assume.
Yeah, I was playing on PC. I was playing keyboard and mouse.
How was was there any aim assist with that?
Absolutely not.
Okay, because like I mean, Richie and I mentioned it last week, but like that shit's aggressive on console.
I mean, I found myself mostly using the like semi-automatic rifles, which usually were powerful enough to kill a zombie in 2 hits max, if not.
Yeah, exactly. But so even with those things, if you let go of the aim down sights and then push it again, if you were anywhere even like remotely in the vicinity of an enemy, it just snapped the fucking target on them.
Yeah, no, that definitely doesn't happen when you're using a mouse. But like I said, I was mostly using a gun where I could just shoot a thing in the leg and it would die. Like, that's how powerful the guns that I found myself liking using.
What difficulty were you playing on?
Just the default.
Yeah, so it was like it's the easy. Essentially, I believe that's the easy mode. Because like that was the mode I was playing on, and like my first playthrough, I had people, and I didn't have a bad time. Like we knew what we were doing, but I also I was playing it on Saturday as opposed to Friday, so like there was more time. People had more time to know what they were doing. You might have been playing with 3 other absolute noobs that just didn't know what they were doing or didn't know the point of the game.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, honestly, most of the time on Friday, I played with nobody. There was nobody on to connect with, and maybe one person would join in.
Yeah.
Like, get dropped in, but then disconnect within 5 minutes.
Yeah, so the bots are just bad. They are... Yeah. They need... If they're gonna make a game that forces you to have bots, they need to make a better AI. Because, like, the one instance, like, when I played the second time, when I played last weekend, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, like, the bot went onto the mounted weapon and just stayed there when we were ready to leave. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's like, well, this is fucking stupid, and we couldn't progress. As far as I could tell, we couldn't progress. So,
no, I heard other people had that same exact bug happen with them.
Yeah, so they need to make the bots better if they're going to force you to play with bots. Which, if you don't have 4 people, there's going to be a bot. But you said you had a better time later on?
Yeah, so then Saturday, I was hanging out in the Discord. Actually, you're in that Discord too, with a bunch of my brother's friends. And I was playing Diablo while people were jumping in. But then my brother's one friend started to play, was like, I'm going to play some Back 4 Blood. And then other guy was like, oh, well, I'll join in. I'm like, oh, I'm fucking not really doing shit in Diablo. Let me get in there and play. And we fucking steamrolled through that game.
Yeah.
Like, we failed one mission once. Because my biggest complaint about that game is it does a shit job of waypointing you at times. Like, it does sometimes it does a piss poor job of telling you either when you should be leaving a spot or where you should be going when you...
I mean, it kind of does that the whole time. Like, there's that in the 4th act, there's that one spot where you have to shoot the big, like, propane tank. And I don't know if anything else in the world will trigger that if you don't shoot it. But if, like, you have to shoot it to knock down the wall to then bring a horde through so that you can progress.
Yeah, well, and also, you're supposed to basically just run. Like, kill the first bit that come through, but don't just stand there and keep trying to kill them because they're never going to stop coming.
Yeah, and you just have to stay as like a group so that you can, like, basically watch each other's back.
Right. But the game does a poor job of telling you, no, don't stand here and fight them, go. And that's actually what happened to us when we wound up failing the mission, was there was another mission later where we get to a spot, we have to start a tow truck to move a car, and waves of zombies are coming in from 2 sides, and then coming in from a 3rd side. But what we didn't realize was, really, once that car was towed out of the way, we were supposed to just go and run to this house that was at the top of the hill behind where the car got towed up from. So the first time we stood there and killed a bunch of zombies, and then we were like, oh, I think we're supposed to go this way. But by that point, we had basically run out of ammo, and tons of zombies had spawned on the other side because we sat around for too long. And then, so we all died and had to continue. And then the second time, I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to just fucking go as we can. And so we did, and, like, we barely took any damage going up the hill the same time.
Yeah.
Let alone having everyone get knocked out, you know? So...
Yeah, I had the exact opposite with, like, the random people. Like, we only got as far as the boat part in the 4th act or whatever, 4th chapter. But we got up to the point where you get to, like, the little militia barricade, and they tell you to go back with the bombs. Everyone ignored that, didn't pick up the bombs, and then just went back onto the boat and died. And then the next 2 or 3, however many lives we had, because that was our, like, the group's first death.
Right.
Every other continue through that level, we were dead by the time we got to the bridge before the boat, because nobody was helping anybody. Everyone was just rushing through everything.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't clearing out the mobs from earlier on, so they just kind of kept attacking while other mobs were, like, filtering into areas. It was it was a fucking shit show.
But yeah, And yeah, totally. That was the experience I had playing with randoms, but then playing with people I've hung out with on this Discord for a while, and no, in real life too. But like, it was way better. Although that fucking beta ends either the last mission was bugged, or boy, is it anticlimactic. Like
Maybe both.
maybe both.
How's
I
it
mean,
end?
So like, we do a mission. We're running up like the inside of a mining area, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I actually was like blowing up the mine shaft entrances, or I guess exits, on our way up. Maybe that's why no zombies came out at like 8 zombies came out at the end. That the bot just instant killed every single one that came out.
Mm-hmm.
But then so you get through that, and then it goes to a new mission where you have to load giant like anti-air shells into a howitzer and shoot it at a giant mine entrance to close it up. And like you have to do that 5 times, and it's this big loud cannon that like every other big loud thing in the game is like it's gonna have a horde of zombies come, and there's a fucking APC Humvee with a minigun on it, and like plenty of vantage points for people to be watching, making it seem like there's going to be swarms of zombies come when you shoot this thing multiple times. Like I said, 8 zombies came out that the bot literally instant killed all of them before any of us ever saw them, really.
Yeah, it's probably set up to where, like, you get halfway through blowing that thing up and you're getting bombarded, where it announces, like, oh, you should blow up these mine shafts in order to stop from getting bombarded while you're still trying to do this objective, so...
But you would still think there would be, like, sure, maybe since I cut off all these entrances going on the way up, not as many zombies come, but there's still this giant thing that I'm shooting at that like, in theory, you're shooting this thing to stop all the ones that are in there from coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them should still be coming out. Like, it's not instantly and completely walled off. Otherwise, you wouldn't have to shoot it 5 times.
Yeah.
And, like, we're sitting there, and, like, they're, like, waiting. The other 2 guys are, like, waiting for zombies to come out as I'm running, grabbing the ammo and putting it in. And then just the mission ends. And it's like, wait, that's how this fucking thing ended?
Yeah,
That's weird.
I think it was probably there was a bug in there or something. I don't think it would have been...
Very inclined to agree.
Yeah. With how, like, buggy it seems to be that the game was, that this beta was, like, it wouldn't shock me if, like, maybe the zombies were spawning but from the wrong point or something like that, and they weren't able to make it to you, or maybe every time you shot the thing you killed all the zombies, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, you don't aim it, like, you just shoot it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But, like, I had a way more enjoyable experience the second time around playing it with people that were actually communicating.
Yeah.
Still don't know that it's something I'll buy. So the cards, considering we played all 8 or 10, whatever missions there are,
yeah,
the cards will repeat.
Okay.
And, like, I had more cards than, I'm pretty sure I had more cards in my deck than missions we played, but, like, I had multiple instances of, like, the health increase card in my, whatever they call, in my active cards. Like, it would come up and I would be like, I could use more health, because the other things also, like, I don't need more ammo.
See,
or whatever.
I don't like that. I don't like that if your deck only has 1 health regen, you can have 3 in your hand. Like,
I agreed.
I don't like that.
I'm with you.
Like, I should have to have 3 health regens or 3 health cards.
Yeah.
Like that will make the game essentially, like, my problem with the game when we were talking about it last time. Like, you could have 3 cards in your deck and just keep using those 3. If it keeps respawning the same cards that you have, and you can duplicate and double up on these cards, you could have 2 or 3, say you have 2 cards, and you can have them each 5 times. And those could be the beast cards that you, like, no, if I have 2 cards in my deck, I should only have 2 cards available to me for the entire thing.
Yeah, I agree. Though I don't know if you can get multiple of any of the cards.
Yeah.
I legitimately don't know. Like, I don't know if there was a way to craft cards.
You could buy some cards during the beta. That's about it. And by playing the missions, you got enough money to buy probably all 5 of the cards that were available to buy. But like, I think your deck was like a deck of 20, and so
no, it's like 8.
Okay,
like it's a small number.
Yeah,
and then like I did get that other card, and you can also find some cards throughout the world as you're playing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are both like common cards, which would be like a +5 health or whatever, but then there would also be like cards you would have to actually pay some of your copper for that were more like get health on melee or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, your deck is not that many cards. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
So I guess that is Back for Blood.
That is Back for Blood.
It is back 4, as in the number.
There's a lot of blood in that game. Like your characters are a fucking bloody mess.
Yeah, that is like the one, like I was running around using the knife and I was just getting all bloodied all over.
Like ridiculous bloody.
Yeah.
Yeah, the name fits.
I wonder if that is a mechanic or if that's just cosmetic.
No,
like, if you get soaked in blood more than somebody else, are the zombies more likely to come towards you than someone who's not as bloody?
That would be cool, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
I also feel like it should be the other way around. Like in Walking Dead, when they cover themselves in zombie stuff, the zombies are less likely to go after them.
You're right, because they're covered in zombie ichor and goo that the zombies would smell as their own and not of something else.
Yeah, exactly.
But with as uninteractable as a lot of shit in that game was, I doubt that's a mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one. I've watched Season 2 and the beginning of Season 3 of Titans. Mm-hmm. It's a good show. I like that show.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get back to it. I thought they like just announced Season 3. I didn't realize it was already dropped.
So only the first 3 episodes are out. Because it's an HBO show, so it is a weekly release.
Yeah.
But you watched Season 1, I think, right?
I did. I watched Season 1. I really liked it. I just never, because it was, I didn't have Plex at the time, so I didn't have a way to watch it when Season 2 came out, and then it came to HBO. Just never got around to watching it since it's been on HBO.
Yeah, I mean, I had a very similar thing. Like, I think Season 2 released in fall of 2019. Mm-hmm. I watched the first episode of Season 2 because that is technically the end of Season 1. Like, I don't know why they split it the way they did, but, like, Season 1 ends on it. It's a cliffhanger that doesn't make sense as a season finale. Yeah. Because it's just, like, the end of a regular episode prior to the climactic fight. And then Episode 1 of Season 2 is the climactic fight.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I watched all of Season 2 and most of 3 last week, and they do a good job with a lot of stuff in that show. Like, I think that they did a really good job with their cast. Like, the cast is really good in the roles. I don't think they necessarily write the characters great as representations of the comic book characters, though. Like, Dick in particular, like, Nightwing, Dick Grayson is supposed to be, you know, like, the hopeful guy. Like, he's kind of like the antithesis of Batman. He's hopeful and energetic and looks on the bright side of things and is quippy. And in this show, he very much is like Batman Jr. Like, he's broody and withdrawn and kind of, he has a lot of self-doubt about things. And even by the end of the season, like, that is still his character. And, like, it works for the show they're doing, but not as, like, a good representation of Nightwing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but, like, other than that, like, they do a good job with the like, the actors are doing good with the characters, and the writing is good. It works for the stories they're telling. Mm-hmm. This is a minor spoiler, but I'm not going to give away any of, like, the details. So, at the end of Season 2, there are kind of, like, two big fights in the last episode. And, I mean, the name of the episode is Nightwing. So, that is the episode that he becomes Nightwing. Like, that's the minor spoiler. But there are 2 fights. The first one is, like, literally Dick showing up as Nightwing for the first time. And then the second one has a better scene of him showing up as Nightwing. And it's funny. I feel like they should have swapped these 2 fights because it would have just been more impactful. So the first one against one of the antagonists, it's really just Dick and, like, 3 of the other people are in a van behind him. The second fight, if they would have, like, swapped it, what is the second fight would have actually gotten the entire team together to then have the final fight between Dick and the main villain.
Yeah.
And it would have just felt so much more like accomplished and like a better flow. Because like I said, when Dick shows up at the second fight, it feels like a better entrance than he had as Nightwing for the first time in the first fight.
Yeah.
And they just run into each other. Like, it's not like stuff happens between. It's one fight finishes, and then it cuts to the next one, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, like, it was a fun second season, little disjointed with the storytelling, but, like, intentionally. They do this thing throughout it where something will happen, and it'll be like a cliffhanger. And the next episode is a flashback.
Yeah.
And it's, like, super frustrating because you want to know what happens. But then, like, that flashback ends up telling you all of the information you need to know for what happens next.
Yeah, they did that quite a bit in season 1 as well, I think.
I don't remember it as much in season 1, and there weren't as many instances of, like, near-death things as there were in this one.
Yeah.
Like there is one scene where you know the character isn't going to die because it's obvious they're not going to die, but you have no idea how they're going to accomplish what they're doing. And the next episode after it ends on like the cliffhanger of almost death is an hour of a flashback leading back up to that point from like another perspective.
Yeah.
And they do that a few times where like it ends up working out once you see both episodes. But when you see the flashback in the next episode, you're like, fuck, I just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what happened first and then tell me like the history of why this happened.
Yeah.
Like,
actually, I think in season 1 they did it that way instead, I think, actually. They would do the cliffhanger, have the outcome, and then tell you why the outcome was, like, such a big deal. Or
You know what? I think that's right. But yeah, other than that, season 2 was just cool because it definitely dipped into the mythos of the team more. Because in that first season, like, you knew that they had been a team and they had split up, and they weren't really back together. Like, by the end of it, they were kind of like begrudgingly back together. But then come season 2, they actually have to come back together. And there are moments of like actual camaraderie because at least like the original members, like they were all friends.
Yeah.
But then like a thing happened that sort of drove them all apart. And then, so in this season, you have these moments where there's like downtime where you see the camaraderie, but then there's also the points where they're all butting heads because none of them really want to be there because of what happened to them before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, totally unrelated, this just popped up. Anthony Mackie officially signed on to be in Captain America 4. So Captain America 4 is actually happening.
I would hope he would officially sign up to be Captain America.
Hey, you never know. But yeah, so season 2 plays out, and then it rolls into season 3. I feel like they dropped a few characters, though, for, like, no good reason. So there's a character that plays out through most of season 2 that at the end of season 2, she is with them still. And is just not there, like, hasn't even been mentioned in season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they were just trying to, like, bring the cast down or what. But they're doing the Red Hood storyline. Like, that was announced, like, forever ago. That they're going to do Red Hood. I feel like it's not quite earned yet, though. Like, they didn't give us enough time to, like, get to know the characters before you're going to do that story.
Well, and you can say this because... honestly, I feel like he should. Did Jason Todd die in season 2?
No.
Which is bullshit. Fuck Jason Todd.
I think he's actually, like, I like what that actor does. Like,
he's a great Jason
Todd. He's
Todd.
doing a really good job. Like, he is not the Jason Todd that you would expect from the comics, but he does a really good job of kind of being, like, he's got, like, an inferiority complex.
Yeah.
And, like, but, like, he's got skill. Like, there's a point in season 2 where he beats a villain that the original team had trouble with. And, like, just fucking destroys him.
Yeah.
And the only reason it didn't work out for him is because another villain showed up that is better than him. But, like, he was holding his own, like, the whole time. But then, like, he does something else stupid or, like, gets angry at somebody and, like, goes and becomes, like, a moody teenager.
Yeah.
But, like, they are doing that Red Hood storyline with him in season 3. Like, that was, like, the big thing they announced for season 3 and just, like, even the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it hasn't quite been earned yet because you didn't get a chance to, like... Jason didn't have a lot of interactions with, I feel like, the team as a whole. Because in a lot of the... Like, in season 2, it was... he went off on his own to try and catch the villain to kind of like prove himself. And then he got captured. And then he got saved. And then the team split up and he never came back. So like he kind of like got isolated right away. And you're like, all right, well, why is he going after them then? Like there was never really a reason for him to be angry at them.
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like if they would have done one more season before that, they could have just built up that animosity a little bit more to make it feel more believable. They did introduce Barbara Gordon in season 3 though too, and that's been interesting because she's a different take on the character. She was still Batgirl at one point. She was still shot by the Joker, and is in a wheelchair now. But rather than being like Oracle, she's actually the commissioner.
Yeah.
Like her dad is dead, and she is now the commissioner.
Yeah, I did see that in the trailer.
Yeah.
The season 3 looks good. I'm gonna get around to watching 1 and rewatching 1 and then watching 2 at some point, but
like,
maybe
it's
this weekend or next weekend I might get around to it.
Yeah, and I feel like in season 2, like all of the characters really like start to come into it. Like I did not care for Hawk, which was Hank in the first season.
Yeah.
Like he was just kind of like that guy. Like he was kind of an asshole. He didn't really bring anything to the team. But then, like, in season 2, like, he's still, like, an asshole, but, like, you actually, like, you grow to like him more.
Yeah.
And they introduced Superboy, which was neat. And Crypto.
And Crypto. They introduced Crypto at the end of season 1.
No, but, like, Crypto and Superboy are actually part of the team in season 2.
Yeah.
Like, they are 2 main characters. And both of them carry on in the season 3, too.
Yeah.
Though they changed dogs, it is not the same Crypto in the second season.
No.
And I think they used multiple dogs anyway, but... Like, the dogs look, like, considerably different between seasons. And it might just be because there was a 2-year gap between seasons.
Yeah.
But because I watched them back to back, I'm like, that is not the same dog at all. Like, they're not even good lookalikes.
That makes sense.
But it's still fun because, I mean, it's Crypto. Who doesn't want a dog with superpowers?
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone hasn't watched Titans, it's worth checking. Like, it's a well-done one of these shows. And because it's on a premium network thing... they can be violent, they can curse, like they can actually do things in it that you're not going to get away with on like a CW show.
Yeah, they did really good with season 1. That was the only reason I would have gotten DC Universe was for that. Thank God, honestly, thank God that it failed so that they brought it over to HBO and I didn't need another subscription.
Yeah, no, that is 100% true. And just as far as, like, the writing and, like, just the acting goes, there's a scene in season 2. It's in the later half of season 2. It's Corey and Rachel driving in a car. I forget where they're driving at the time. But they basically get into, like, this big argument where they're just fucking yelling and cursing at each other. And it's just, it was hilarious and wonderful because it's, like, a 16-year-old girl screaming at, like, this adult woman.
Yeah.
And, like, who's also an alien with, like, super... fucking cosmic powers and shit. And they're just arguing like, I don't fucking care what planet you're from.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very good. I liked it a lot. But yeah, so I watched a few episodes of this show called Sk8 The Infinity. And Rich, I think this is I think you would love this show.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
All right. Do you have any fondness for like the goofy 80s and 90s like teen sport comedy movies where like, you know, kid moves to or even like the early 2000s, like kid moves to a new town where like the thing he used to do, he can't do anymore. So he learns how to do like the new thing.
Dude, my favorite movie of all time was Sandlot until I got older.
So not quite Sandlot level of this, but I'm talking more like the movie Airborne with the kid from California who was a surfer and then had to move to like Cincinnati with his cousin Seth Green and started doing like downhill rollerblading competitions.
I never seen that.
Or what was there was the Disney Channel original movie about the Hawaiian kid who moved to like Alaska.
I can tell you now, I never seen it because I didn't watch Disney Channel. I didn't have Disney Channel until I was mid-teens.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah, because this show would have been like, or that, I never saw the whole movie, but I just remember bits of it, and it would have been like the late 90s, I want to say, like 98, 99.
Mm-hmm.
Ice cream.
Yeah, you guys want ice cream?
Yes, but you're all the way over there. So, in that case, so this show, it's about skateboarding.
Uh-huh.
And it's Studio Bones who does My Hero. They also did like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and everything. Like they're like one of the best animation studios in Japan. And it's totally original. Like, it's not based on an existing manga or anything. But they do these downhill skateboarding competitions where everyone's a fucking caricature. And it's great. It's like they took all of the bullshit race stuff from Fast and the Furious and shoved it into Japanese skateboarding.
Okay.
So the kind of like premise behind it is the one of the two main kids is like an actual skater. Like, he's been doing it for years. He actually builds his own decks and works at a skate shop in town and everything. And he goes to these competitions, and I get the impression that like he's like mid-tier. Like, he's not bad at it, but he's nobody special or, like, memorable either. Whereas you have these other characters that go to this thing that are, like, mythological to everybody else. Like, when they see them, they're all like, oh my god, that guy is here.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, yeah, just everybody is, like, this weird caricature where during the day, it's a lot of adults with jobs. Like, one guy runs, like, a calligraphy studio where he also makes advanced AI. Another guy runs a restaurant. A third guy is a florist. And then at night, they put on funny costumes and go skateboard.
Yeah, okay.
But then the other main character is a kid. He's a Japanese. He's half Japanese. He grew up in Canada, though, snowboarding. So he comes to Japan and, like, by happenstance, ends up at this competition because he gets a job at the skate shop also. And he gets basically forced into one of these races, and he can't stand on the skateboard. As soon as he stands on it, he falls off of it. So he duct tapes his feet to the skateboard and treats it like a snowboard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the dumbest shit I've ever seen, but in the best way.
Okay. That sounds stupid. I like it.
Like, stupid in, like, a good way.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And, like, the level of just... So in the first Fast and Furious movie, and the second one, when it was still... And even the third one, actually, when it was still about racing. It's got the same chaotic energy as like the race wars from the first movie, or the opening race where Ludacris has somebody raise the fucking drawbridge while they're racing across it. Like, it's got that level of just like bullshit going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a fun show. It's also only 12 episodes. It got renewed for a second season, but this season literally just finished airing, I believe. So it's actually fairly new also.
Sorry, I was being texted. Yeah, it sounds pretty, it sounds like something I could definitely watch, and enjoy just because of how ridiculous it is. I'll have to check it out. It's not available on anything that I have right now.
No, unfortunately, it is a Funimation exclusive, as far as I know. At least the dub definitely is. I don't know if the sub is on, like, Crunchyroll or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, like, it's definitely one of those things, like, because it's only 12 episodes, it's 12 half-hour episodes. Like, even if you did, like, a free trial of Funimation, like, you could definitely watch that in the 7-day or however long the trial is.
Yeah.
Even if you just did, like, an hour a day, you'd still get through it before the trial ended.
Yeah.
And we've actually only watched 2 episodes so far, but, like, it was so, like, over-the-top dumb that I'm just like, I'm going to talk about this because this is just 2 episodes in and it's already a bunch of fun.
It does sound pretty cool, pretty fun, and I kind of do want to check it out.
I guess, do you guys want to talk about this wrestling bullshit?
Speaking of cool and...
That's the end of the podcast, right? Speaking of cool and fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at all.
No?
No, you guys got to tell me what y'all thought about the wrestling.
Look, I'm glad you like it. I don't. And this gives me... I have notes of every fight. And
okay.
I don't know how you want to do this.
I saw Richie's notes. Like, he took legitimate notes.
I mean, if you took legitimate notes, I would like to go through your notes and hear what you... Like, I have a handful of questions. They're super high level, pretty generic questions. So, like, I'll either sprinkle them in as we go or save them for the end. Like,
well, let's do this. Rich,
okay.
Since you took really, really good notes, I'm going to just give my kind of, like, quick opinion up front. Because I did not take notes.
Okay.
I did watch it while I was working. So, like, I wasn't working a lot. Like, I didn't really have anything going on. So, like, I was paying attention to the whole thing. But it was still one of those things, like, it wasn't the thing that I was 100% focused on. So I wasn't sitting here, like, noting as people did stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the only 2 matches that I actually thought were, like, 90% enjoyable was the ladder match and the female match. The one with the
agreed
the
on
2 Japanese women.
Agreed on both of those, and I will add the first match, the triples match.
Oh,
Okay.
that one
That
actually.
was-
Okay.
The triples match was my favorite match of the entire night.
Cool. Also,
Like
those are 6. Well, I don't know a ton about Marco Stunt. He hasn't really been around a lot lately either, but like the other 5 in that match, the SCU team, Kazarian and Daniels, they've been wrestling for like 25 years as a tag team. Like they've probably been a tag team longer than Jungle Boy has been alive.
yeah, Jungle Boy. That was
I did appreciate that one thing about being like alive. That they one of the announcers mentioned it during the Jericho match at the end, that Jericho has been wrestling longer than his opponent has been alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jungle Boy is Luke Perry's.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so those were the 2 matches that I thought were the most entertaining. Most of them, and this was even watching it sped up a little bit. And like, I don't know if you guys have watched YouTube videos like sped up a little. Like, it doesn't distort any of the audio. Like, I could still hear and understand all of the commentary, no problem. Some of the moves actually looked a little cooler, I'm thinking, because they were sped up.
Probably some, for sure.
But like, for the most part, I felt like all of the matches went on too long, and they would start out fun as far as like that stuff goes. Like, they'd be doing neat stuff. There was a lot of athleticism on show, but then within like a few minutes of the match starting, both the guys were just on the ground because they were supposed to be exhausted from throwing each other into the rails and diving off the ring and everything.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, all right, now it's 15 minutes of them just very slowly doing things at each other.
Like, I used to watch when I would wake up, and by used to, I mean, like, I was mid-20s, wake up on Saturday mornings and turn on CW because they had all the anime, but the first thing they would show is, like, Saturday Slam from WWE, which is essentially the truncated versions of a lot of the fights from throughout the week. It was a half-hour show, and they would cut out all the wobbling and the setup and just show the fight. I was entertained by that. But with, like, for instance, Omega vs. Pac, that fight was about 35 minutes long, and more than half of it was the, like, setup and just them rolling around. And I was just absolutely bored. Omega vs. Pac was the worst fight, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Now,
I was actually super...
I'd probably say second worst fight, but right now I think it's worst fight.
Like that, I was actually super bummed by that because Omega was one of like 4 people in the whole thing that I knew. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I know that guy. He's in the video games. He likes fighting games. I know some of his moves are like video game adjacent. Mm-hmm. And then like that match was just super boring.
Yeah, that probably had a lot to do with that was a literal like the last minute change. Like that match wasn't supposed to happen at all. But the week before, the guy Kenny Omega was supposed to wrestle, John Moxley, who was Dean Ambrose in WWE, got a major staph infection in his elbow and could not, was not cleared to wrestle. And actually, Pac had just been coming off a nasty cut on his thigh.
They mentioned that his thigh was like heavily taped and
like there were pictures of the cut. You could like see muscle is how deep that cut he got was. So he was not 100% going into that match, and like they had no time to prep for that.
Yeah.
And Rich, you and I very briefly just kind of like threw opinions at each other to see if we had a similar take on it. And I think we were both kind of on the same page that a lot of this, like wrestling in general tends to be, and I don't know if AEW is the same way, but you know, there's like the storyline that kind of builds up to the fight that makes you care a little bit more about the 2 guys going against each other.
Yeah.
And watching this with no idea what any of the characters are or anything definitely hampers the ability to be like, oh, like I understand why these 2 guys are going at each other as hard as they are, because there's some animosity between them. Like that, you don't get any of that watching this for the first time with nothing preceding it.
Oh, I like totally agree. Because like for instance, in the Spears versus Rhodes fight, we're going a bit ahead, but like in the Spears versus Rhodes, they were saying that there's history between these 2 guys, and it was big. And I don't know any of this. So they had coaches, outside coaches or whatever, whatever they're called. They had like ring coaches. That's the word. They each had ring coaches. I like, my first note is, who is this old ass man with spears? That was my first note on that fight, because I had no idea who this guy was. Like, my third note was puppy, because there was a puppy.
Only that Cody's dog looked terrified.
He did look terrified, but it's
Yeah.
loud. Like, what do you expect?
And I knew who Arn Anderson was. I recognized him from like 1992.
Yeah. But, like, let's I don't want to go too far into the Rhodes versus Spears fight. I want to go back. But, like...
So, actually, just real quick before we touch on it,
Mhm.
like, start going through the card, part of the reason I picked this was only, like, the third ever AEW show. So, really, a lot of it was... There really actually wasn't a ton of backstory y'all were missing out on for most of the matches.
Mhm.
Like, really, the Cody Spears match was probably the only one that had, like, storytelling that wasn't here as a championship they're wrestling for.
Yeah.
Like, the Young Bucks and Lucha Bros ladder match had a bit of story of they had been in a bunch of matches for this title throughout the year, but you didn't really need to know that. Like, you know that there is a title on the line in the match.
Yeah.
But I feel like their match in particular, because the announcers kept referencing how they had a history against each other, even if it was with other promotions, that you then saw that in the way that they were synchronizing all of their stuff. Like, you know, the one Lucha guy would be doing the same thing that one of the other guys was doing to, like, their other half, essentially. And, like, you know, they'd have those moments where they'd look at each other and then look back and then look at each other again, and they'd both go, like, dive and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And that, at least, like, there was storytelling to that made you wonder, like, okay, well, like, what is going on here? Like, is there like the in-universe animosity between them, or are they actually, like, are they good? They just both really want the title? Because, like, you got because they gave you some of the history for, like, the Rhodes match, you did get that, like, the other guy had fucked him over and hit him with the chair and, like, busted his head open and all. So there was actual animosity between them.
Yeah.
But, like, you didn't get that for anything else.
Yeah, well, like I said, most of everything else was, like, there really wasn't. It was just, here's guys, like, here. Like, this was basically the start of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, like, to me, I've gone and seen a few boxing matches with friends and whatever, and to find out that, and I guess this is normal for boxing, to find out that some of the earlier cards were more entertaining than, like, the main fight, that kind of just, like, to me, I'm like, that kind of sucks. Like, you pay for this pay-per-view to see, because you want to see the big title match, you want to see the Jericho versus
Hangman Page.
Like, you want to see Jericho versus Page, and, like, that was the longest fight. It started in part 2 of the YouTube, it started around an hour and 15 minutes. And the whole video is an hour and, like, 58 minutes. So that was the longest fight from what I can tell. But, like, a lot of the time was just, for me, for someone who's not a fan of wrestling, there was a lot of showboating and just a lot of nothing. But,
yeah,
like, and that's just, we can get into it further, but that's just part of the reason why I can't get behind wrestling. Or I not can't get behind. Like, again, I'm glad you enjoy it, but it's something that I can't find an enjoyment out of, because, and maybe I'm wrong in viewing it this way, but I view wrestling, like WWE, AEW, as a sport more than as an entertainment value type thing. Like, I look at it as if I'm watching baseball or football, but the rules don't fucking matter in this shit. And that...
yeah, I mean, like, that's where, like, as someone who's been watching wrestling for a long time, I'm there for the athleticism and the storytelling.
Yeah.
I'm, like, and that's part of why WWE has gotten incredibly boring, because they really don't like to let their super athletic guys be cool and super athletic.
Wasn't Jericho, like, the head of the WWE for a while in their storyline?
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's multiple-time WWE champ, for sure.
Well, no, I mean, like, didn't he take over,
like,
for
commissioner
McMahon?
or something like that?
I don't know that Jericho ever...
No, it was a bald... Goldberg, maybe? I can't remember. He was a bald-headed guy, that, like, big, buff, bald-headed guy, famous wrestler. I can't think of his name right now.
Stone Cold?
Triple H?
It was Triple H, yeah. Triple H,
well,
became the commissioner of WWE in the storyline. Like,
he's like the owner of the company.
He essentially runs the NXT show now. Like, I mean, he's married to Vince's daughter.
mhm.
Like he's a C-suite executive.
Okay.
Yeah, he's likely actually going to take the company over, assuming Vince doesn't sell it. But,
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get to your notes. I want to kind of hear some of your notes.
So, I didn't start taking the notes till the Cracker Barrel clash, but I did write down quick notes for the first two fights. Triples fight,
Sure.
I wrote, it was great athleticism, fun characters, there were some cool combos and team moves, and I jotted down the time because Omegaverse Pack took way too long. But the end note for the triples fight was that it did start rough because there was multiple quick attempts at pinning right away, but ended with some entertaining moves and just the characters themselves. Like, I could get behind a Luchasaurus.
Oh, Luchasaurus is fucking great.
I like Luchasaurus. I could do without Jungle Boy and his flossing. But
no, that was Marco Stunt that did the flossing.
I could do without him and his flossing. Jungle Boy was cool then. But like that was, to me, that was like the most entertaining fight to me. There was there was constant action. There wasn't a lot of like I don't know. It was good to me. Then Omegaverse Pack.
Okay.
We'll move to that. I wrote, it should have ended sooner. Too much showboating. Way too much showboating in that. LOL at the cushioned chair, where I believe it was Pac was throwing Omega's head into the cushion of a fold-up chair. And it made me laugh. That ending was wild, where it was a knockout by knockout and not just by pinning.
The submission.
Yeah, it was a submission knockout. That was wild. And
also,
then,
the level, the athleticism and strength in that one too, because you figure like the dude was wrapped around Omega, and he was still holding him up as he was essentially doing a squat.
Yeah, and like you could see how far bent Kenny's shoulders were, because like Kenny, his back was pretty red by that point, but like his shoulder blades where it was bent in were white from like being pinched.
Yeah.
It was wild.
But like the fact that like he was able to hold a 200-pound guy up after all of the other stuff they had done through that for like a good like 30, 45 seconds, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like also act like he was losing consciousness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, then I wrote, because I think this was Omega's first loss or whatever, I wrote, LOL at the devastated fans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was pretty surprising that Kenny lost that match.
So, was that his first loss for AEW? Because he's lost before in Japan, right?
For sure. Yeah, yeah, totally.
And then pretty much, like, I wrote, like, and for all of them, I have a little blurb. And it's, for this fight, I couldn't really care for the moves that were completed as I was bored. There was too much time between them. The montage at the end made the fight look exciting, but the amount of time that it took to complete the moves between each just took me out of it and caused me to just be bored.
Okay.
Then we'll go to
unreasonable.
We'll go to the Cracker Barrel clash. I'm gonna. This is when the notes start to get bigger, so I'm gonna try to skim through. But basically, just flat out fuck Janela and fuck Island's mask or makeup. I hated that, but having some mask was really cool. So I'm about that. Fuck sponsored spots and shut up about Cracker Barrel. And then like LOL at the empty staple gun. LOL at the paper cuts. Another staple gun later on. I got mad because the Cracker Barrel broke because they shouldn't be that cheap. And they broke two of them. But that chair flip was really cool. At one point in the fight.
When he just gets flipped and lands sitting in the chair, right?
Yeah. And I was surprised that those were real thumbtacks.
Oh, yeah, they're real thumbtacks.
The staple gun didn't seem real. Was the staple gun, like the
staple gun was also real.
Were there staples in it? Because he stapled his arm and there was no mark.
Yeah, there was.
I swear there was no mark. I swear the mark was from when he fell on the thumbtacks. And that's where he started getting the mark. I didn't see a staple in his arm. I didn't see bleeding from his arm when he stapled his arm. I didn't see anything about that.
Now I'm questioning because they do reference the one prior pay-per-view where he did legitimately fucking staple gun a lit cigarette to that dude's forehead.
So like maybe the early staple gun, because there was 2 instances of staple gun. Maybe the early one wasn't full, but because this is acting.
He was just like shooting. Yeah. Either way, like whatever. Staple guns don't actually very far.
Yeah. And then, so I wrote for this, the final blurb was, the use of the barrels and staple gun, although obviously made to be a gimmick, really took me out of full enjoyment. The consistent jumping backwards on the ground after opponent moved away also took me out. The chair flip was cool though. Slightly more entertaining than a Megaverse pack.
Also, the guy using a skateboard to fucking like face plant a guy.
Yeah, skateboard full of thumbtacks.
That was covered in thumbtacks.
Yeah. Darby Allin's kind of become one of the big stars in the company.
I did think his whole just demeanor was, compared to everybody else that they showed there, he was kind of like the different one. Like he came out with like the kind of like sloppy makeup on the half of his face, and like he just kind of walked to the corner and just kind of sat down and waited for the match to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he was also like, I don't know, 100 pounds and like 2 feet shorter than everybody else, so he just looked like an underdog.
But he's put on some amazing matches, and he's actually paired up with Sting. Like, tonight, he has a tag team match with Sting as his partner.
That's actually kind of cool.
But yeah, like, I didn't like him because of his makeup, but like, yeah. We'll move on to the Dark Order versus Best Friends. Fuck the Dark Order. That's pretty much a lot of my notes.
So, early Dark Order sucked. Everyone hated them. The crowd, totally not into them. The Dark Order have become the best thing in the company. But at that point, totally 100%. Like no one got them. They weren't the characters they are now. So, and actually, fun fact: before AEW, those 2 guys, Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, were a tag team called the Super Smash Brothers.
Okay.
And they were Player Uno and Player Dos.
That's cool.
So a lot of their moves are video game references as well. Like their finisher is called the Fatality. They do a move, another Mortal Kombat reference where Stu Grayson will say "Get over here," as Evil Uno has someone like he just did like a backbreaker on him, and he has them bent over his knees and then will push them forward into Grayson, who then does whatever. I forget what he does, but. Yeah. He yells, "Get over here," and Uno pushes him.
My second note is, if the Dark Order uses the creepers, we riot, and of course they fucking did. Then I made fun of one of the guys from Dark Order for trying to look like Kratos.
Yeah, okay.
Then I wrote, I don't like that a tag counts as the wrestler on the outside tapping the inside wrestler's back. That shouldn't be a tag. It should be they have to tag like hand to hand. The inside wrestler has to tag the outside, not the outside for the inside. I did not like that.
That's how it used to be in like the 90s. Like the ref wouldn't let the other guy in unless the guy in the ring like actively touched the other guy, not the other way around.
I don't know that that's actually the case there, Cobb, but like
that's how I remember it in like the 90s.
The one thing I'll say that used to happen way more that you rarely ever see happen now is like the other team distract the ref as the guy's about to get the tag out, and then the ref go, "Oh, no, I didn't see you make a tag," and then swap back in. But actually, also a thing that used to happen way back in the 90s was, like, the bad guys would just, like, it would always be the heel team doing this. They would just, like, be in the corner and, like, clap their own hands and then switch places. And the ref was like, "Well, I don't know, I heard a tag, so I'll allow that one, even though I didn't see it. But I heard them just make a noise, so they must have. Even though I just totally didn't allow the other team to do it."
Yeah.
That does sound like a very, like, NWO DX thing from 1997.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so I go into, like, too much cheating with both wrestlers in the ring. Which maybe this
AEW allows that a lot.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
At one point, I think I might have missed when they actually tagged, but I wrote "Big Guy never tagged, was allowed to do moves. Other friend was attacked by Kratos. Ass fucker, ref said fuck off." So, like, the one of the friend goes to attack one of the guys in the ring, and the ref is like, no, you're not allowed to do that. But they've been doing it the whole fucking time with the Dark fucking Order.
Yeah.
And so I just wrote my next line. Moral of the stories, heels can do whatever they want, and I hate it.
But so the best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent. Chuck Taylor actually lives in Philadelphia and is a huge Sixers fan. Like there was actually one of the playoff games he was at and was on camera at one point, and that a tweet went around. It was like, "Hey, look, Chucky T at this. They're hilarious. They're super cool."
Yeah.
Like,
And Rich, I'm just gonna throw this out there because I get the impression that in your mind, or the way that you're viewing it at least, is more of like an actual athletic competition.
Yeah.
With like cheating and all, but really like it's not really a competition because they go into it already knowing the outcome.
I know this, but
it's more like a gymnastics floor exercise.
I know like wrestling is scripted to the extent of like they know what the moves are going to do, they choreograph it and everything, and like I know all this, but in my head I still look at it as they're trying to pretend like this is a sport.
I mean, that's where you have to suspend your disbelief, and
that I can't do that. Like I can't sit here and be like when in this Spears Rhodes fight where fucking Rhodes tackles and sends Spears into the fucking crowd. I'm like, this is a disqualification right here. He shouldn't have done that. Like, and then they ring the bell before Spears even gets up to start the actual fight.
But that's wrestling. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's not an actual competition. And if you look at it like a competition, it really does make it worse than it is.
Yeah.
Because you have to kind of go in there with it's a soap opera where guys, I mean, it really is anime. It's a shonen anime.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's two guys with some sort of beef fighting each other in just a stupid, elaborate way, which is why, the refs are some of the most talented people in the rings half the time because,
oh my god,
like
go ahead.
The way that like a ref has to move and act like they're not seeing the thing that's happening, but also like be ready at a moment's notice to be on the ground checking on these guys to make sure that they didn't just hurt themselves after doing something fucking crazy. Like you really do have to just like suspend belief on the fact that like this ref is oblivious to the people cheating and that there's any real competition, because it's really not. It doesn't come down to a competition of like who's the winner, who's the loser. It, like especially like the Cody Rhodes fight, that was a grudge match. It was two guys that just wanted to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no like, oh, the winner is now the number one contender or gets the belt or whatever. It was just no, these two guys don't like each other. They want to beat the shit out of each other. They're going to do whatever they can to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah, and that, like...
Well, can I make a real quick sidebar on Cobb's comment about the refs?
Sure.
Over the weekend, I happened to see a video on YouTube. One of the referees who now works for AEW, Bryce Remsburg, refereed a match in a different promotion between wrestlers named The Invisible Man and The Invisible Stan, who was the quote-unquote The Invisible Man's brother. So it was just him, like, refereeing a match with no people. But the crowd sells it because of all, like, his acting out of things supposedly happening.
Yeah.
And, like, it was the dumbest, best fucking thing I'd seen in a while. Because, and this goes into AEW as well, like, the crowd and their reactions make everything. Like, the crowd makes wrestling. It's part of what I love about wrestling, and honestly, watching it, and I was watching during work, and I would have headphones on. I would get goosebumps hearing the crowd react to things, and that pushes things beyond the actual just watching them sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, even as somebody that doesn't care for this stuff, like, I'll see, like, just through osmosis, like, on, like, Facebook and stuff, like, people post clips of things. And, like, when you hear, like, the crowd pop for somebody, like, coming out for, like, the first time in, like, a long time or whatever, like, who's the guy that, he was a wrestler in, like, the late 90s. He was one of, like, the vampire gimmick guys that had to retire for, like, concussions or something like that.
Edge.
Yeah. I saw somebody post a clip, like, a few years ago of, like, him returning after I guess getting cleared, like, not having concussion syndrome anymore. And, like, hearing, like, the crowd explode and, like, the look on his face when he came out, like, that does, like, bring some emotion up, even if you're not a fan of that stuff.
I mean, it's the same as if you're watching a sports game and somebody might have gotten hurt and they're able to walk off the field. Like, the cheer for the person, no matter what team it is, there's always a cheer for the person when they can walk off the field. That's I can see that. I can feel that, but it's just, I don't know. And I even write, in my notes for the Dark Order vs. Best Friends, cause there was like a bounce flip move off the top rope, but like I don't remember. They like bounced him off of the rope and flipped him. It was really cool, and I was like, "That's a cool move." And then the Creepers did their thing, and I was like, "Fuck the Creepers." But I wrote for like my final write up is this is the shit about wrestling, professional wrestling, that there are rules that lead to the good guys losing and the bad guys winning that I don't like. This is like there are, even though this is more for entertainment, there is technically a set of established rules in wrestling. And the fact that they don't care about the established rules, for me, it's just, it takes me out of it. Like, I can't suspend the disbelief of, like, these are just two guys having fun beating each other up. It's, like, this is a sport. I only see it as I can only view it as a sport.
It's basically like, whose line is it anyway? Where the rules are made up and the points don't matter.
And I love Whose Line because that's funny. That's the thing. Whose Line is funny. But then I keep going, usage of bullshit like the Creepers and the heels disregarding tag team rules constantly really does cause me to lose interest. Although this is all for the story and lore behind the rivalry, and probably will have these two teams fight out in the finals of the Tournament of Doubles, whatever it's called. I don't think this is suited for someone sitting to watch this for the first time and likely only. Like, I know they were trying to build up to something, but I just don't think someone who's probably not going to watch what they're building up to with this fight, this wasn't really a good fight for someone like me.
Now, Drew, I know you said that this was really like there weren't really like established storylines going into this one.
No, because like they didn't have their weekly show on.
But so all of the guys in this, and girls, because there were the two female wrestlers too, they were all established either coming from like WWE or Japan or like one of the other kind of promotions that you can see different places, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'd say maybe Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy were and Marco Stunt were kind of the only ones that like this is kind of their big break. Like they never were with ROH or WWE or New Japan or Impact or like any of those companies.
But so like you coming into AEW for the first time, like you basically knew all of these guys, what their histories were with each other if they had histories, and sort of like what they were capable of.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so like for me and Richie, we're going in there with, like I said, I knew like 3 or 4 of the people, but knew nothing about them as wrestlers. I just recognized the names because they've done other stuff. Like Kenny Omega has been on Giant Bomb, Cody Rhodes was on fucking Arrow, like stuff like that. Chris Jericho has been wrestling for 30 years, and
yeah, he was the only name I knew.
I actually also I think this is kind of Darby Allin's big break. I mean, he's been in indies, although he's also only like 24 now. He was 22 then.
That's what they mentioned, that he was 22 during that match.
So like I'm certain he did smaller indies, but like I don't remember I don't think he ever was in like Ring of Honor or Impact, and I know he definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I know. Like I haven't purposefully watched wrestling since, I don't know, 2001-ish, like right around the time when the WCW and WWE like merged.
Yeah, it's 2001.
Yeah, like that was when I just fell out of that stuff. And like from what I remember from them and like from what I've seen like clips of and stuff like that online, like these guys were definitely doing more than they ever did before, especially in like the big places. Like so like the moves and the flips and the crazy shit, like you didn't see that level of athleticism out of like guys in the 90s.
No.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it seems like the guys like the luchadors in the 90s would be the ones like on the top rope, like just like flying through the air, or like the Hardys and stuff like that. But like they weren't necessarily doing like cool stuff. They were just doing fucking crazy stuff that like you couldn't help but go, holy shit, they just don't care about their bodies. But I feel like everybody else, like the Rocks and the Stone Colds and the Triple H's, like they were just big, powerful guys who like part of their thing was just like getting hit and then getting back up, and then getting hit and then getting back up, and then doing their finisher and landing their finisher and getting the win. And it's like whoever got their finisher got the win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue down your notes there?
Yeah. We're
We've
going.
only got a few more.
We're going long, but I'll try to keep these. I started taking less notes as I got longer. But Sheeta vs. Riho. I really like Sheeta's intro music. That was really cool. And I was really excited to finally see some actual like Greco-Roman wrestling and grappling for the first time in 2 hours. And then I got annoyed that like the crowd got mad that she hit the foam finger off someone by accident.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, she's like high-fiving people. I think it was Sheeta was high-fiving people or something like that, and somebody had their foam finger and she high-fives them and it pulls like the finger off and like everyone gets offended, like, oh no! I'm just like, why is that like, but like that's part of the crowd sell, and for me I'm just like, I don't understand why that'd be a big deal, but for someone who knows wrestling, you'd probably pull you in more.
What I'll say is, not gonna lie, that's probably honestly the crowd more making fun of the dude for losing their foam finger than her knocking it off.
Yeah,
because like I didn't even know, like I did not know who these two were before they came to AEW. Like, I'm not familiar with what they call Joshi wrestling over in Japan, which is where it's the women's wrestling in Japan. Like,
does New Japan not have the women wrestlers?
No, New Japan has no women.
Okay.
There are entire separate women's promotions. The big one in Japan is called Stardom, which the vast majority of the women that wrestle with AEW have come from, and I'm pretty sure both Riho and Sheeta came from there, and I think we're both champions there.
Yeah, like their match was one of the more entertaining ones.
Yeah, and
like also one of the shortest.
Yeah, I think it was probably about 20 minutes.
It actually felt shorter than that.
There was a decent amount of like rolling on the floor and like catching their breath and everything, but there was a lot of action in this fight. So that's probably why it felt shorter. But there was also like Riho did so many reversals on Sheeta.
And yeah. I forget who like their names, but like the smaller of the two is who I think you're talking about.
Yeah,
like,
that's Riho.
Yeah, she was just constantly like slipping out of things or like fucking like tumbling through. Like,
yeah, she was like
she was more acrobatic than anything, like just fucking like doing things that people shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, which is probably why like this fight was probably more entertaining overall than many of the others, but there was still like a lot of that downtime, because I guess for me one-on-one matches just aren't my thing. But I write that this is a cool match that started with some excitement and fancy moves. Potential speed of these two wrestlers made for an intriguing match, but of course, in the tradition of professional wrestling, there needed to be some drama. All in all, if they were to cut down the BS of some of these matches and just stick to the actual fighting, I could probably get behind wrestling more. Admittedly, I couldn't last 2 minutes in the ring, but for a viewer who wants to watch wrestling, if they could cut out the time between moves, the times where wrestlers are catching their breath, rolling on the ground, Mortal Kombat wobbling, or anything besides doing a move, I'd probably find more enjoyment.
Well, see, like that's where they have to balance things, because like if they would also then get shit on the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And like this was the big thing for WWE, especially with their women for the longest time, was they would give women 2 minutes, if that. It's like, all right, you've got 2 minutes for a match.
Yeah.
Go. Like, that's all you get. It's the championship match. You get 2 minutes.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't agree with that, but like I also, like Jericho's fight had no time limit. I don't agree with that. Give it a time limit. Like,
I mean, it's the championship fight.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, though? Like, I like Chris Jericho. Like, I remember him from, like, the 90s. Like, he was always, like... I don't know that he's ever been, like a good guy for, like, any sort of, like, extended period of time, but, like...
Oh, yeah, he totally has.
Has he? Okay. Well, because, like, yeah. he plays a heel really well. Like, he is...
He super does.
It's like Triple H. Like, they should both just perpetually be heels, even when the crowd's behind them.
Yeah.
But, like, he's, like, 50 at this point, and, like, just not as entertaining in the ring as he is on the mic, like, yelling at people.
Yeah.
Like, him doing a promo against somebody, way more interesting than him wrestling at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Real quick, I will say, like, for the most part, like, I'd even say, like, the ideal match length is, like, 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that seems reasonable.
Yeah, like if
pay-per-view matches are probably going to go longer, not necessarily always for their benefit. Sometimes there are, like, and there are totally, like, hour-long classics. Like, shit, I almost, if there was a nice legal way to have found the Kenny Omega Kazuchika Okada, like, 7-star rated hour and 20-minute long match or something, I might have made you guys just watch 1 hour and 20-minute long or whatever the fuck it is match between those two. But, like, I'm not necessarily going to go pirate things, and it's probably going to be poor quality at that point.
Yeah.
But most of the time, like, 15 minutes, 20 minutes is probably the longest something will really be good for. And, like, I agree. Once things start to get a little longer, it can start to fall apart.
When Chris Jericho is bleeding for 10 minutes straight, that's going a little too far.
Yeah.
Like, he literally was bleeding for at least 10 to 15 minutes before they ended that fight.
I mean, he was basically bleeding from the time the fight started.
I mean, it was a close to 40-minute fight, so almost.
Yeah.
So what are there? There's 2 matches left, right?
3. We got Spears and Rhodes, which
okay.
We've talked about a bunch already.
Cliff notes is I hated the addition of the ring coaches. The random fat dude coming out of nowhere to suplex or whatever that guy, whoever he was,
Come on, it's Art Anderson.
I don't know who that is.
It's a double-A spine buster, baby. Actually, the guy who hit the spine or he did it. Did he hit both guys with spine busters? I forget.
I think he just hit the guy that Rhodes was fighting.
Okay. I think he did something to Spears and then something to the old man who was the ring coach for Spears.
But they used to be partners, right? That was the impression I got. Like, was the other old guy one of the 4 horsemen too?
Yep. And also they were tag team partners when they left WCW and went to WWF for a while in the early 90s. Like, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson were longtime partners in many different provinces.
Yeah, like, I knew who Arn Anderson was, and I knew the 4 horsemen, like, by name and reputation. Did not know who the other guy was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the final note I have for this fight was, I understand that this match was more about the story behind the 2 fighters and was the absolute correct display as why I hate wrestling. There was a showcase of some good athleticism, but if we're meant to believe that this is a real sport, there's no way this match would have progressed in an actual sporting standard. From the start of the fight, before the bell ringing, before Spears was even standing, this was a display of poor sportsmanship and the exact example is why I don't like professional wrestling. It's just, I can't remove that this is.
But, like, is it even actually? Do they even actually, like, intend for it to come off as a real sporting event in universe?
Not. I mean, for, like, AEW when they started tried to, like, say that, like, they cared about wins and losses as far as, like, making it quote unquote sporting, but, like, not really. Like, they never go, this is, like, the be-all, end-all of wrestling, and the winner who wins the most is the best. Like, they never make it out to be, like, legit sport competition.
Yeah, it's just like when you have, like, the actors shouting, do your job, ref, and the ref's not doing their job because they're trying to make it seem like a sport, but not really seem like a sport, but try to make it seem like a sport, it's just, I lose it there. I'm like, do you want it to be a sport or not? Do you want to pretend it's a sport, or do you not want to pretend it's a sport?
No, it's a shonen anime. It's just a poor quality shonen anime.
But we'll move over to Lucha Bros, and I wrote versus Super Kick because I didn't realize they were called Young Bucks till halfway through. Because their image said Super Kick. I tried to call it that the Lucha Bros were going to lose because they walked under the ladders, and that's bad luck. I was obviously wrong.
But zero fear, man. Cero miedo.
Cero cojones, okay? They're one of the Lucha Bros looks like Sub-Zero, which was pretty cool.
He does.
That was pretty cool.
I think that was Phoenix. So, and I will say, legitimately, they are brothers, and so are the Young Bucks. It was 2 sets of brothers, actual real-life brothers.
Yeah.
Because the Hardys are actually brothers too, aren't they?
Yep.
And, let's see. This fight, really cool style and athleticism. Yeah, so it showed a lot of good athleticism in this fight, but there were so many times within the first 10 minutes that the fight could have ended. Because all I had to do was get the fucking belt. There were so many times where the other team was not paying attention, but they had to create the drama, so they had to, like, slowly go up to where the announcer says, you don't go to wrestling school to learn to climb ladders.
But, like, not even just, like, how slowly they climb the ladders. Like, you know, when they're climbing the ladders to dive off of them and hit somebody, it's like that ladder is just an extension of them. They're up it and off it in a second. But when they're trying to, like, move it to the center of the ring to climb it, like, they're purposely dragging it out where they're, like, moving it back, like they're just twisting it a few times back and forth to, like, make sure it's, like, level or whatever, like, to give time for the other people to slide back into the ring to then knock them off when they're halfway up the ladder. And like stuff totally. It looks fake at that point, which pulls you out of it, because it's like, all right, it'd be one thing if this, and I was watching it at 1.5 times speed and this stuff looked too slow. And it's like, if it looks slow to me, I can't imagine what it looked like just regular time. Yeah. Of them, like, slowly trying to put a ladder back into place under the thing when 30 seconds before, they just kind of, like, threw the ladder up and then, like, raced up it. It's like, just because somebody's not there, you're taking your time because the match isn't ready to be over yet. And
then I was kind of mad. I was mad at one of the Young Bucks for removing the mask of one of the Lucha Bros. I was just mad at that.
Was that intentional?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, like, it looked like it wasn't at first, but then it looked like it did. And it was just hard to tell.
I mean, I guess that makes it a little, like, that's good. Like, you should maybe not know whether it was intentional. But no, I'm pretty sure they were playing up being the heels in that match, and that is a heel-ass thing to do, to try to take off a luchador's fucking mask.
Yeah, I knew that. And it was just, like, the way that they were grappling on the ladder, and then the mask came off, and there was almost this moment of, like, neither of them expected it. And then the guy, like, held it up, like, haha, I did it. Fuck you.
Yeah. That was definitely a heel thing to do.
Like, that part was, but it almost looked like the mask coming off wasn't the initial, or the original intent. Like, maybe it was a thing that, like, the other guy said it, like, while up there, like, hey, just, like, pull the mask off, I'll cover my face.
Maybe.
So the final write-up is this, there's nothing else of note to put on here. So, this was actually a fight I found very entertaining. There was a move where they bridged the ladder across the ring and the bars, and, like, DDT'd the dude's head, quote, on the ladder. I thought that was the dumbest move that they did the whole fight. But overall, I was fairly entertained. There was plenty of times that this match should have ended early, and I still feel that a lot of the setup time and prep work, just was a waste. Like, they set up the double tables by the ramp at the front of the ring 10 minutes before they actually used them.
Oh, that happens all the time. That is done on purpose. That is Chekhov's tables. Like, tables got set up. When is tables go? Yeah. Someone's gonna go through them. Win. Fucking Nick almost fucking dies when he finally does take that spot, though.
Yeah. He goes down. There was one point in the fight where there was just 2 tables set up that, like, were just set up by the crew. Like, none of the wrestlers set them up. It was just 2 tables standing there for no reason, so that they could do a double move where one of the Lucha Bros had a Young Buck, and one of the Young Bucks had a Lucha Bros, and they both doubled down onto the tables. And my note is, why were those tables there? There's no reason for those tables to have been there.
Because it was a Stairway to Hell match.
Let's see. Where was I at? It's plenty of times this match should have ended early, and I still feel all the setup prep time just was kind of a waste. There was a large display of athleticism, and in the end, if every match was just like this, I'd be more on it. I could have done without the Ortiz's stuff and Orange Cassidy, but I don't know any of that story or anything, so I don't understand its significance. So that's just me. I'm not trying to hurt the show for that. That's just on me.
I definitely thought that guy was going to also turn on the other guys, because, like, he comes out and he dives through the ropes and takes out the one team, and then gets back into the ring, and because he's just got that, like, I don't give a fuck demeanor going on with his hands in his pockets.
That Jake Gyllenhaal look?
Yeah, I just thought, like, when the other guys were, like, coming up and, like, hugging him and stuff, that he was then going to, like fucking stun them or something like that.
Oh, no.
But, like, that was
Orange Cassidy's great.
I was just like, I don't know the significance of that, but I was just like, That was whatever. That was dumb, but fine. But this was a very long match, but the setup made up for it. The characters were the most interesting, most of all the matches. And hopefully the title card can hold up. Hopefully. And then we have Paige vs. Jericho, which, let's see. I note that this fight starts around an hour and 15, and it better be good, because so far 1v1s are my least favorite. The ref says it's going to be a good, fair fight, and I laughed at that. I said, yeah, we'll see. There's only been one of those tonight. They started with some grappling for a little bit, which was nice. I like, that's, to me, that's wrestling. There's some kind of wrestling. She was the first ref to count for ring outs in the entire 4 hours.
I mean,
there was
inaccurate, but also a number of the matches there were no ring outs. Like,
there was the instance in the Rhodes fight where they were counting for a ring out, but then one of the ring coaches started pulling the wrestler up too, and the ref was like, no, you're not allowed to do that, and stopped the count for 30 seconds. So I was just like, yeah. I also could have done without somebody chanting towards Jericho, "You fat fuck." I just thought that was a stupid chant, and I could have done without that.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, like, Jericho doesn't look as good as he did 20 years ago, but, like, the guy is still more muscle than anyone in that fucking crowd was.
Yeah, exactly. Like, all of those guys chanting, "You fat fuck," couldn't last 2 minutes in that ring. So, shut up. Jericho could have, at an hour and 28, which is now 13 minutes, 13 minutes into the fight, Jericho could have won at least 3 times by that point. I'm like, Jericho could have won. He could have won. Right? Like, he could have, but instead of pinning, he showboated.
Oh, well.
And it's the title card, it's wrestling, I get it, but I'm just like, this is just my commentary on this fight's gonna be way too long. And then I write that they should have tried to stop the bleeding mid-match, because that's gross. But also, obviously, you can tell Jericho is supposed to win, because they didn't stop the fight after he started bleeding.
Well, I mean, bleeding is part of wrestling.
At least AEW, because isn't WWE not allowed to do it anymore?
Yeah, not like that. Like, Jericho intentionally cut himself to bleed.
See, I thought that was an accident. I didn't know that was an intentional bleed.
No.
I mean, basically all bleeding in wrestling is intentional. If those guys are bleeding, they probably did it on purpose.
Like, if it's coming from their forehead, it was on purpose. If it's, like, coming from their nose or their lip, unlikely it was on purpose. Like, they probably just actually got hit in the mouth and split their lip open.
Yeah, but, like, your forehead bleeds a lot.
Yeah, which is why they cut there, because you can do a super shallow, superficial cut that's not going to hurt you, but it produces a lot of blood, so it makes it look real bad.
Yeah.
But you're fine.
I wrote, obviously Jericho was supposed to win the fight. Over 10 minutes of Jericho bleeding. There's finally a disqualification threat in the entire pay-per-view. One of the announcers says it's as if Jericho knew it was coming, which just made me laugh, because we've already discussed that they choreograph these fights.
Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, going into it, like, they're not necessarily, like, choreographed, right? Like, they have an idea of what they want to do, but a lot of it's just, like, in the ring, they're kind of, like, signaling each other of, like, all right, I'm going to go up, or you're going to go up, or what have you.
Yeah, like, so big moves, like, probably a lot of the moves in the ladder match, they might have actually rehearsed ahead of time. Like, gone, set up the stuff, and done it once, and had, like, crash pads laid down, and been like, okay, we're cool being able to actually do this in a match. Like, the fucking Canadian Destroyer off the ladder, there's no way they didn't try that once before doing it in the match,
and
to make sure A, they could do it, and B, and not kill each other, and B, that it would look good. Like,
and you know what, in that match in particular, like, some of, like, the synchronized stuff they were doing, they probably had that planned out ahead of time too.
But yeah, most of it will be like, yes, like, we know what the end of the match is going to be. The guys have, like, their signature moves. They'll talk about when they want to put that in the match, but then also a lot of it just is like, okay, here's how the crowd's reacting. We're going to talk about what we're going to do in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what a lot of the headlock rests are for, is and why the camera will not be looking at their face when they're in those moments necessarily, because they are talking to each other and going, okay, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And doesn't the ref sometimes say stuff to them too, like when they're like on the ground and like he leans down to like check on them? Like, aren't the refs actually like conveying information also?
Yeah, usually from the ref, it's going to be like how much time they have left.
Okay.
In what they're programmed for on the show. It'll be like, all right, you guys got 7 minutes left, or 3 minutes left, or all right, we're ready to go to the finish now. We're ready to go home.
Okay.
But so the Botchamania YouTube channel, one of their main things is called "You Talk Too Much," when they catch bits of the wrestlers way too loud shouting out what the spots are going to be coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, a lot of it is them saying, okay, time to do
yeah.
it.
So my like wrap up for the Jericho match was, as a title card and title match for wrestling's sake, it was a good match. However, I don't understand why they needed to keep going after he started bleeding. I know that wrestling is scripted to an art of choreography, and even winners decided before the match. So maybe this is a question for Drew. What you already answered is: are title matches scripted? Like,
yeah,
the winner, like Jericho was scripted to win that before the match even started.
Yeah.
If it was scripted that Jericho was set to win, why drag on for over 10 minutes of him bleeding pretty bad, just to have him win? The instant he started bleeding, and obviously, to me, I thought it was really bad. They should have not called a winner, but Paige shouldn't have broken from the next pinning. It's just my opinion based on my understanding of how wrestling works.
But now you know that blood was intentional. Like, that blood was there to kind of make Hangman Page look strong, but also to make Jericho look strong.
Yeah.
To make your first champion, your first ever champion, be like, hey, this guy won because he was tough. Yes, he was bleeding. He fought through it. Yeah, he's technically the heel, and like maybe that's a better thing for the babyface, but still, like, you want your champion to look strong.
Mm-hmm.
So to fight through the bleeding and all makes Jericho look strong.
Yeah.
And like having a name like that win after like putting on like what to a fan probably was a good show, it probably makes that title even more significant to the fans.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It wasn't just like random guy who has only wrestled for like lesser known promotions. It's a guy who's been doing this for longer than a lot of those guys have even been alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I have like a final write up, which if you want me to read, I can. And I have my fight rankings. If you want me to go over those, I can.
Let me get to my questions first, because I'll probably cover a bit of your final write up. Because, like I said, these are pretty generic, high level for. I guess you guys both kind of said favorite match already. Was it both the Lucha Bros, Young Bucks for you guys, or
ladder match was my favorite.
The ladder match.
Rich, you also liked the opening match. I liked the ladder match and the women's match.
Yeah.
Okay.
My number one was the ladder match for sure. Number two was the triples, the opening.
Okay. Yeah. Honestly, probably the same for me. Like that the trios tag match to start was a perfect way to start. The crowd was into everyone in that match. Like, it was a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite wrestler or team from the whole thing?
I would have to go with either Luchasaurus or just the Lucha Bros in general.
Okay.
I mean, like, I like Kenny Omega. I don't think he put on a particularly good show there, but like, I like him from outside of wrestling, so I don't know if that necessarily counts.
No, it's fine. If nobody else impressed you more to like
the guys and girls that did this, like, they were super impressive with like the athleticism that they had. Even if I found the matches to be boring, like, they were still doing stuff that was well beyond anything I could ever do. But like, just like as an entertainer, like I actually just like Kenny Omega. Like, he's fun and yeah.
Okay. Was there a particular moment that stood out to you? Like, for me, it's that Canadian Destroyer off the ladder through tables. Like, that's the holy shit moment of that show. But was there anything that made, like, you actually went, oh, that was really fucking
All of the reversals from Riho. Like,
okay.
All that stuff was very cool.
Yeah.
I also during the ladder match, all of those synchronized things. Like not all of them were like super fancy, but a few times like they did some crazy shit like at identical times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the out by submission from the Omega Pack fight.
Okay. And then is there anyone that got you to want to know more about that? Like anyone that entertained you enough to be like, I kind of wish I knew more about that wrestler. If you were to have continued watching, be the one that you would want to get behind.
I'd and maybe you can answer this. I'd want to keep track of the best friends to see if they win the tournament that they were like trying to get their bye week for. But also just the two female wrestlers. I would like to know where they came from. I would like to know like the Japanese wrestling. I know Japanese wrestling is insane, so I would like to know like their history and maybe some of their previous stuff and see where they came from.
Okay, Cobb, anyone?
Like not in particular. Like the guys that I already knew of were the kind of the ones that I was more like aware of already. So
Sure.
like knowing who Kenny Omega was going in, or like Cody or Jericho at the end there, like I was familiar with them as far as like I knew they were wrestlers. Like I've seen Jericho before just because he's been doing it for so long. I've seen bits and pieces of Cody just from to Rich. He was who Stephen Amell wrestled.
Who, Cody Rhodes?
Yeah. Because he was
he had all that makeup on at that time, right?
Yeah, he was Stardust.
Because his brother is Goldust, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like I had seen him a little bit from like just clips of that stuff from what was that, like 05, 06 ish,
something like that.
Like it was early-ish seasons of Arrow is when that happened. But like other than that, like I don't really have any. Like it's not a thing that I intend on watching anymore. So I wasn't really looking at it as like, oh, like I'm interested in these people.
Yeah, totally. Just wasn't sure if anyone was like got you to go, oh, cool, huh? You know?
I did mention it to Richie. Like I wish I would have gotten to see more of Kenny's like video game moves.
Okay.
Because I don't think he ever actually got to do One Winged Angel. I think it kept getting stopped.
Yeah.
So he hit a V trigger once, I think.
He hit the V trigger a lot of times. That his like running knee attack is what he calls is the V trigger. He hit
only hit. Oh, did he actually hit? I know he tried to a bunch of times. I thought he only landed it once.
No, like towards the end of the match, he hit it a bunch of times and then like went for the like he had set up for the One Wing Angel, but Pac countered out into his submission finisher.
I think he set up for One Winged Angel twice because I think he did it once and they didn't get anywhere with it, and then the second time was the one that he got knocked out for. But the only time I remember him hitting the V trigger, it was like one of those visceral ones where like you heard the fucking impact, and I'm just like, oh, how do you even fake that? Jesus Christ!
You slap the shit out of your thigh.
No, I know that, but it's just like. Because like there was like it was the smack and the thud that followed was just like Jesus.
But like the thing about the One Wing Angel is it has never been kicked out of as long as he's been like a name, like a big like no one ever kicked out of it in New Japan. No one's kicked out of it in AEW. Like it is maybe the most protected finisher in all of wrestling because like a lot of people's finishers anymore like get kicked out of like once in a match at least. No one's ever kicked out when he's actually hit the One Wing Angel. A lot of people will escape from it before he actually hits it. But
okay, so that's kind of how they set it up where like if he hits it, you know he's winning.
Yeah.
But he doesn't always get to actually hit it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Does he still do like a Hadouken thing?
I've
seen
it in a
images
while,
of that where like he'll just basically hit them with his hands like he's doing a Hadouken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he hasn't done it in a while. And actually, I don't know if you caught, but Jimmy Havoc did an uppercut into a guy on the turnbuckle a couple times, like a guy that was up on the top rope. That he called the Shoryuken.
Oh, I didn't catch it. I remember him doing like an uppercut, but I didn't realize that's what he called it.
Yeah. And like the announcers even called it the Shoryuken.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the one thing that I feel like modern wrestling outside of WWE, where they just seem to be very strict about everything, has going for it is a lot of like the guys that are between like 20 and like 35, like they grew up with like the Attitude Era where people were doing crazier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what got them into wrestling. But then they also grew up with like video games and anime and this shit where like people are just doing over the top bullshit that they are then going to, you know, iterate on themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, Hulk Hogan's big move was a fucking leg drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
And I mean, even like The Rock, like the Rock Bottom was something because you're really like in theory, he's literally like picking up and then slamming them down. Mm-hmm. But like the people's elbow is like you're just hitting them with their fucking elbow. You're just taking the pad off first, which if done wrong can really hurt somebody because that's what Reichert broke Greg Miller's ribs or cracked his ribs at that one PAX Mania.
But also like you're hitting them with your elbow falling from standing up, not like Macho Man coming off the top rope and like on him with an elbow.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. That's why, like, so I always found like the submission moves in a lot of cases looked like they don't look like they necessarily hurt as much as the wrestlers are portraying them to. Mm-hmm. Because like even like the big guys are way more flexible than a human being should be. So like being bent in that position isn't necessarily like this like agonizing thing, but it's still like, okay, no, I get that. Like, you're stuck in this position. It's really locked in. You can't wiggle out of it. Like, yeah, the only thing you can do at that point is tap out. But, like, yeah, like, getting hit with, like, the inside of somebody's knee that's slightly bent, like, that's not going to hurt your chest all that much. Like, there's no way that hurts you in any real way.
Right. Richie, your final thoughts?
The final thoughts. You know, I could just read my write-up real quick. It's not long. It's like...
Okay.
A few sentences. It looks long because it's on a small thing. Overall, as good as this may have been for a wrestling fan, I personally feel this isn't the kind of show you would have watched a newbie. Honestly, I was wrong. I thought there was more backstory and stuff. Without an understanding of characters and their past and their past with other characters, and with drama, a lot of the drama just goes over my head, which it still did because I didn't know them from previous wrestling formats. Along with that, some of the matches ran much longer than expected, which lost it for me. There was definitely a good display of athleticism, but the entertainment value must have gone above my head.
Actually, so I have a quick follow-up question. How much did you, like, take from the crowd reacting? Like, did you even really pay attention to the crowd reacting much?
I don't think I did. I paid attention to the fights, and, like, I somehow found a way to tune the crowd out. I guess. I paid attention to the fights, and maybe there was, like, a few instances, like, I had a really good, I had a decent amount of enjoyment for the first fight, but then the second fight I just started to not like, so then maybe it progressed into more and more of not really paying attention to anything besides, like, the things I don't like more so than the things I would like. So there could be that bias in there somewhere. But, like, I didn't really get a lot of, like, feels from the crowd in a sort of sense. Like, it was just a lot of, like, I'm sitting here, I'm watching it, and I'm taking it in, I'm listening to the announcers, I'm paying attention to the fights, and just, there was a lot of, I don't get this, I don't get that, I don't understand this, that probably took me away from enjoying what the crowd was maybe bringing in for everyone else.
Cobb, did you really, like, hear the crowd, feel the crowd?
I mean, I heard them. I wasn't paying a ton of attention to the crowd. And a lot of that, like, I understand wrestling. I don't, like, and I think that's the thing, like, I get the impression, like, Rich, you it seems like you didn't really watch it a lot when you were younger, per se.
I never watched it when I was young.
Okay. So, like, I at least grew up watching wrestling. So, like, I have that sort of nostalgia for, like, a certain era of it. But, like, when I grew out of it, it was one of those things where it's like, I just lost that interest in that soap opera-y, like, over-the-topness of it in a lot of ways. So, like, going into this, it's like, I don't know what the mentality of any of these guys are. So, like, the crowd's reactions weren't having as big of an impact on it either, because it's like, they were cheering for guys where it's like, well, I don't know who they are, and, like, what they're doing isn't particularly impressive to me at this point. Like, why are they cheering for this? Whereas, like, for, like, the Jericho fight, like, I knew Jericho, so if he got booed or cheered, like, I understood, like, why he was getting booed or cheered. Or the same thing for Cody. Like, I knew Cody, I knew he's, like, the head of AEW, right?
Him, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks are the 4 executive vice presidents.
Okay. I thought they were. I knew Kenny Omega was also like some sort of like executive with them. I thought Cody was like CEO, and then Kenny was like another C-suite level.
I think they all have the title executive vice president.
Okay. But like it was one of those like I knew that about him. I knew a little bit of him from other things, like because he's been on some stuff. But like a lot of the wrestlers, like I just didn't know them. So like the crowd, like either booing or cheering them, didn't really have like an impact on me watching it. I was just more like, oh, that was a really cool thing they did, and it's like, oh, this is like 15 more minutes of them just being tired and slow. And I think Richie had a similar experience where like that's sort of where you lose it. Like all these matches opened up really strong. And then immediately slowed down because it's like they got all their big stuff out of the way up front, and then they had to, plan what they were going to do next, which is understandable. Like they have to do it so that they can put on a show and also be safe.
Yeah, there's a reason. Sorry if I'm cutting you off. There's a reason.
No, you're good.
That boxing has 3-minute rounds or whatever it is. Like they need
and it's
that,
just punches.
Like it's just punches, but like. They're beating the shit out of each other, but they do need that break time to catch their breath. And, like, I understand that, like, wrestling needs that break time as well, but, like, there's a ring to there's a bell to ring once per round, or twice per round, at the beginning and the end. But there's no, like, maybe I'd be able to, like, connect more with it if, like, they did stop every 5 minutes or whatever, to let them catch their breath and somehow communicate over a minute what they're gonna do next.
And I think that's the thing, like Droo was saying before, like it's not so much them stopping to catch their breath, it's they're stopping to coordinate their next thing. But for us, it's like, oh, like now they're tired now, even if they're not really tired, so they're moving slower. This is where they're kind of like grappling, or they're both laying on the ground exhausted because they both hit each other at the same time, and it's like, cool. I understand this is supposed to be building like suspense for the match on who's going to get up or who's going to pin who, but like as a not fan and not having any story to like tie it all together, it's like this part's boring.
Yeah, I mean there is a level of catching their breath to things at times, especially when they're both knocked down. That's way more okay, here's the round break. But like promotions have tried doing rounds. It's fucking stupid as shit. It's so bad. Like, you want to talk about breaking, like, any sort of suspension of disbelief? Like, fucking round system wrestling. Terrible. It's garbage.
Yeah, I don't know. I can enjoy although I don't ingest boxing that often.
I was going to say, you know what else is garbage? Boxing. Boxing is terrible.
Boxing is bad. It is bad. Honestly, fighting sports besides
boxing has not been good since the 90s.
The only fighting sport that I can get behind is the Valley All-Star Karate competition.
Yeah, no, I mean that is where real competition and real athleticism meet.
The All Valley Karate competition. That's the only time I can get behind fighting sport.
Cobra Kai never dies.
Dude,
come on, man, it's scripted. What do you, like, they know who's winning.
It's less scripted than fucking WWE.
I think there's also...
It's actually more scripted. It is maybe the only thing literally more scripted.
I think there's also less drama than the WWE.
Yo, how funny would it be, though, if it actually was less scripted and a lot of those fights they just got to, like, fucking mess with?
Yeah. I think I saw that, like, they just wrapped on season, whatever the next season is. Season 4, and it comes out in December. Yeah, so
December or January.
But Drew, do you have any other questions or things that you want to ask us for this?
I don't think so. I was surprised you put in that much work on making notes.
Look, if we're
I appreciate it.
I'm gonna be doing it for everything, whether I like it or not. Like, I didn't take a lot of notes for Terminator because it was only 2.5 hours or whatever, and I enjoyed it. So like I remembered a lot about it. It was easier to remember. But if you're gonna give me something that's like 4 hours long, I'm gonna have to take notes to remember.
Hey, motherfucker, you gave us something that was 6 hours long.
And I didn't have to take notes on that because I remembered it all.
He's listened to it. I was gonna say he listens to it every year for the last decade. So
I think it's only been out for like 4 years, 5 years,
like 5 or 6. I think it was 2015.
Yeah. So, but like if that were my first time listening to it, I probably would have taken more notes or had notes in general. But I can give you my final rankings. But we don't need to.
You already said what your favorite matches.
Ladder triples, Shida vs. Riho, Jericho vs. Paige.
Okay.
Cracker Barrel Clash is only at the bottom because of the advertising. It might have gone a little bit up and been more entertaining, but I was just done with all their advertising bullshit.
Yeah.
And then it's a tie for last between Omega and Pac and Rhodes vs. Spears. It's just those two fights I did not enjoy.
Yeah. So are you guys ready for what's next?
Sure. What's next?
No, but sure.
We're gonna watch some anime.
Oh boy.
Fuck.
We're gonna watch a show called, I'm gonna probably pronounce this wrong. Puella, Magi, Madoka, Magica. I'll send you guys the name. I'll put the name in the show notes. It's on Netflix. It's a magical girl show.
Okay.
Crickets.
No, I'm googling it, trying to find out where it's at. It's on Netflix and HBO Max.
Oh, I didn't realize it was on HBO Max. There is a dub of it on Netflix. It's 12 episodes, about 22-ish minutes an episode, so it'll be right around 4.5 hours. So right around the length, right on the length of the AEW thing.
Mm-hmm.
It gets weird. That's all I'm going to say.
No, an anime gets weird.
Hold on, Drootin. No, a magical girl anime gets weird.
No, but I mean, like, it gets weird in a way that you won't expect a magical girl anime to get weird.
Okay.
I did not pick this as a let's make Droo watch a magical girl anime. It's actually a legitimately good show.
Okay. I will ask this before we wrap up, since this is 4 hours, but it should be manageable. Do we want to have this be a month-long one or a 2-week-long one? If we want it to be a month-long one, I have my pick for the next thing that we could do in between, if you get what I'm saying.
I think we can do the 12 episodes in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you watch 1 hour of it every other day, you'll be done it in time.
You can watch 1 episode a day and you'll be done 2 days before.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah, but I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys like Drootin, do you think you'd be able to do this in 2 weeks, a full season?
Probably.
All right, then we'll stick with this. I know what I'm going to tell you guys to watch in 2 weeks. I think it's one of two things, but I haven't decided what. But I think I know. But great, we're watching a magical girl anime. Is there a lot of fan service?
No, there's none.
Good, then I can watch it on my regular TV.
Yeah, no. Actually, the girls are actually a lot younger than like the Sailor Moon characters are drawn to be.
Okay.
Because I want to say Sailor Moon is actually just like an 8th grader, but they treat them all like they are like adults.
Mm-hmm.
In this show, like, they are all I think the oldest one is like 9th or 10th grade, and the rest of them are middle schoolers. And to be clear, Japanese middle school, if I remember correctly, it's like 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then 9th, 10th, 11th. No. 7th, 8th, 9th is middle school, 10th, 11th, 12th is high school for Japan.
Okay.
They don't do grades like we do, so it's just like, it's their first year middle school or their first year high school, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we'll watch that and report back in 2 weeks, which would be the 1st of September.
We were recording on a different day that week because that's my fantasy draft on the 1st. So yeah,
right.
One of those days.
So the 30, I guess it would be the 31st then.
Yes.
So cool. All right. I think that'll do it for this week, though, because we did go pretty long talking about wrestling.
Yeah.
Which is probably the first and only time that will happen unless Droo makes us watch another pay-per-view at some point.
So that's just all I'm going to do. I mean, the rest are on, like, pay services. So.
I was fully expecting this to be a long conversation. Most of it was because of my notes. But I wanted to talk about it all, because that's what this is for. So, it was good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, if between now and next week, if you'd like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also support us by going over to patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, all those places. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. Those things all help a whole bunch. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/OneQuestOnline or at @1_Quest on Twitter and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/OneQuestVideo, and you can always send us emails to social@one-quest.com. And then, Rich, I think I saw you are not going to stream tonight.
No, I'm not going to stream tonight because we're just running late. I don't want to stream for just an hour. But tonight, the day this show airs, which is the 19th, Thursday the 19th, time travel, yay. Probably going to stick to the original schedule and play some more Monster Hunter stories, too. I just got Ray's Wing Ratha after about 20-something hours, so I'm going to try to keep pushing the story forward from there, and maybe get some eggs, so come check it out. 2
very quick things regarding your streaming.
Uh-huh.
Stop hyphenating PodQuest when you post about it.
I didn't this time.
Yes, you did.
No, I did #PodQuest.
No, you, on Facebook, you put a hyphen.
Did I put a hyphen? Okay, I did. I guess I put a hyphen in the description of the photo, but in the hashtags, I didn't do a hyphen. I'm dumb. You literally put pod-quest is running super late tonight. But the other thing, are you still up for you streaming that game I told you I wanted you to play over the weekend? Oh, yes. I forgot about that. I should be able to do that this weekend.
Right. Do you have any idea when you might be able to do that over the weekend?
Sunday. I even posted it on that post you're discussing. I'm going to do a special morning and afternoon stream on Sunday because to make up for not streaming today and to just get a couple extra hours of streaming.
Okay. So Droo, just so you know, there's a Steam game that I'm not telling Richie what it is yet, but he's going to play the whole thing on Steam. Or on stream. On Steam also, but on stream he's going to play the whole thing.
Okay.
It's like a 4 to 6 hours depending on how long, like how much he gets into. So it's relatively short. But yeah, I'm not telling him what it is until Sunday. So like he's basically going to download and immediately start playing it on stream. And Rich, depending on what time you're playing it, I might try and like maybe hop on Discord or something with you for at least a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. I can have you on Discord, or you can watch the stream and chat with me to try to put my viewers up.
Well, I figured I would watch the stream to see what you're doing, but I figured on Discord I can actually we can actually talk and you can just send my audio into OBS also.
You're gonna need to wear, well, I mean, you could mute the stream, but you're gonna need to wear a headset, otherwise it'll have your audio will come through your
I know how audio works, and
look, you don't like headphones, so I was just letting you know.
I don't, but I'll wear the same headphones I'm wearing for this because I don't like having voice chat come through speakers either, because like I feel like it's going to get picked up by the microphone and just cause feedback. So that's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll talk about that more like later this week to set an actual plan for it.
Yeah, for sure. I will text you sometime Saturday, most likely, to get any information. But if you want to keep it a real surprise, I'll text you as soon as I wake up, deciding what time I'm going to play on Sunday. And you can tell me to download it then. And we can even stream me downloading this game and us talking about it beforehand.
That might work.
Streamers do some weird things, like sit in hot tubs and shit. So, who knows?
You're not wrong. Check that out all over the weekend. Otherwise, we'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See yas.
Bye.